Good evening. Could everybody please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Calling this meeting to order. It is April 26th. It is 6:06 p.m. Welcome, everybody. Opening statement. Or actually, roll call, Ms. Cluck.
Mr. Schneider?
Here.
Mrs. Madiker?
Here.
Mr. Shi? Mrs. Peng? Mrs. White?
Here.
Mr. Mohan Patel? Mr. Burrell Patel?
Here.
Mr. Rivera?
Here.
Dr. Haydock?
Here.
6 present.
Thank you. Opening statement. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Act was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Edison Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published by having the date, time, and place thereof posted in the Board of Education administrative offices. Copies of these notices were sent to the Home News Tribune and the Star Ledger on January 4th, February 16th, and March 30th, 2022. The public may participate at regular meetings in accordance with the bylaws and the applicable state regulations. Thank you. Wanted to welcome everybody here tonight. Just one little bit of housekeeping prior to our audit presentation. We have a new board member tonight. His name's Dr. Kevin Haydock. He's all the way there at the end. Welcome, Dr. Haydock.
Thank you, Mr. President. It's an honor to be serving on this board. I wish there was a larger presence, but at this point, it's not about me. It's about the decisions of the board, and I'm looking forward to being part of that for many years to come. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We look forward to having you here. And if anybody wants to know, he was sworn in a few days ago by our board attorney, and we did that so he could be very well prepared with all of the privileged documents for tonight. And he was able to get up to speed with all of the board matters that we feel are very important. So with that said, we're going to move on to our presentation of the 2020-2021 annual audit. And this is by our auditor, Mr. Andy Hodgelik.
Yes.
Thank you.
Hey, good evening, Mr. President, members of the board. Pleasure to be here. This is a review of your financial statement audit on the June 30th, 2021 financials. And we had a very productive meeting with the Finance Committee about a month ago or so, or a couple of weeks ago, so I won't take a lot of your time up this evening. In terms of your financial position, the financial position of the district improved considerably over year to year from June 30th, 20 to 2021. At the end of June 30th, 21, your fund balance was $52 million. And a considerable amount of that was placed into your capital reserve funds. So that's a very positive situation for the board moving forward. Again, as I indicated, we did spend a lot of time with the Finance Committee, so I won't spend too much time going through the financial details. Just one item, note your debt position. You virtually have no debt whatsoever. Your debt capacity is right now at $725 million. If you were able to utilize that. There was one question from the Finance Committee meeting that we spoke, and it was about the amount that's able to be put on in the maintenance reserve, and that maximum is actually 4% of the replacement costs of the district's facilities. So that would be a very considerable number. You're nowhere near that maximum amount of the maintenance reserve. I wanted to point out that in terms of the review of the financials this year, there were findings in the report that required a corrective action plan that's on the agenda tonight. And hopefully that following this corrective action plan, those matters won't be there in future periods. So with that, if there's any questions on the financials, I'd be happy to discuss them.
Can I ask a question?
Ms. Madiger.
I went through some of the some of the recommendations. Would you have any other recommendations in terms of how these can be fixed?
Well, again, you're right. These are recommendations to what needs to be fixed,
yes.
How to fix them. They're really kind of like in your ballpark, but to be honest with you, I think in my mind, on my estimate, you're short of personnel in the finance office. You have qualified people, but you need quantity and more quality, basically, in terms of the finance area.
So quantity and quality, so you mean hire more people in that department?
I think you need more people, and I think you need people that would have a caliber of a certain nature that'll be able to, put the information in the system that's required, so there's not as many errors as there were that we come across.
Okay, thank you.
I have a question.
Yes, Mr. Patel.
Yeah, so the maintenance reserves, you said 5% of the total budget?
The maximum is 4% of your replacement costs of all your facilities, so that's a huge number.
4%, okay.
4%, yeah. I mean, we would probably estimate what your $1 billion replacement costs now, and so you'd be at 40 million is what your maintenance reserve could be at if you had to. Yeah.
So just one more question
Sure.
I have. So the district now has a corrective action plan. So who checks on this action plan? Is it something that will be done annually? Like what happens?
Well, the idea behind that, and so the board puts together, the management has presented a corrective action plan to you, and actually it's kind of like the responsibility of the board to monitor, and then if we are appointed to come in again, or whatever auditor does, would come in and review those findings to make sure they've been corrected, and if they haven't been corrected, then they'll be reported again.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Hodgelik, one of the things I found interesting is the time frame of for this audit, or what this audit's about. And can you just walk the public through? I see it says 2020 to 2021. What's
Right,
the
that's
actual
a great
time frame?
question, Mr. President. Normally this report would be issued early December. There is, and that's based on statutory requirements. There is actually talk about moving the deadline back because there's a huge issue now. What happened is there's a county pronouncement that was passed maybe 5-10 years ago and impacts your reporting. And in order for you to meet an unmodified report, you need certain information in your report that has to come from the state of New Jersey. And the state of New Jersey has been very delinquent in providing this information. It was not provided to the district and obviously to the auditors until such time in February. So there was no way you could actually issue the report. I mean, you could issue a report but have a modified opinion, and that's really not helping the matters. So that's what the delay was on the issuing of this report. And you're correct. It's really, it's kind of interesting how late in the calendar it is.
So it goes from what month in 2020 to what month
Oh, no,
in
I'm sorry.
20?
It's your fiscal year, and your fiscal year is July 1
Right.
to June 30th, 21. So July 1, 2020 to June 30th, 2021.
So your analysis basically in this report goes till July 1st of 2021. So we're lagged about a little less than a year.
You're due for another review in another couple of months.
Understood.
Yeah.
Okay. Any other board member comments regarding the audit? Fair enough.
Thank you very much.
If no
Good
other
evening.
comments, thank you very
Thank you.
much.
Okay.
Mr. Hodgelik, I should also note for the public's knowledge that we did have a very thorough presentation by the auditor in our budget committee, that our entire budget committee was there, and we went very in-depth with this information, so thank you again. We are going to be moving to a privileged session now. We have some business to take care of in that regard, and Ms. Gluck, can you please read the resolution?
Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Edison, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters. The general nature of the subject matter to be discussed is as follows. Attorney-client privilege discussion regarding personnel matters and student matters. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for non-disclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately.
I make the motion to move to a privileged session. Do I have a second?
Second.
Ms. Madiger, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Abstentions? Thank you. We'll be back. Thank you very much. Motion by Mr. Rivera, second.
Second.
Ms. White, second. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Thank you. Okay. Roll call.
Mr. Schneider?
Here.
Ms. Madiker?
Here.
Mr. Shi? Sorry, Ms. Pang. Mrs. White?
Here.
Mr. Mohan Patel? Mr. Burrell Patel?
Here.
Ms. Pang? Mr. Rivera?
Here.
Dr. Hayduck?
Here.
6 present.
Thank you. We're going to move to our public hearing now on the violence and vandalism report. Dr. Bragan.
Thank you, Mr. Board President. As the community, I'm sure, is aware, twice annually, we are required to report out on our violence and vandalism report. The report I'm going to go over, and which is contained in the agenda, references the dates from September 1st, 2021 through December 31st of 2021. Over that time frame across the district in all 19 schools, we had 21 reported acts of violence, 1 act of vandalism, 5 occurrences of where students brought weapons to school, 0 cases of substance abuse, for a total of 27 instances that had to be reported to the state. Now, while these numbers are greater than what they were last year, because we were remote for the good portion of that year last year, they are still significantly lower than what you would expect for a district as large as ours. However, any acts of violence or vandalism that occur in our schools, we take very seriously, and we'll continue to work with our staffs and help them to help our students to better mitigate conflicts and deal with frustrations in a way that doesn't result or resort to any type of violence or vandalism. Thank you, Mr. Board President.
Thank you. Any board comments before we move to public comments on the violence and vandalism report only?
Yes, Dr. Bragan, so
Mr. Patel.
did we have any student suspension as a result of any of this between this time period?
Yes, we did.
Okay.
Ms. Madiger?
Dr. Bragan, just want to understand, like, how do we, basically tide this? Like, how do we fix this?
I think if I had that answer, I'd be a millionaire. But what we try to do is provide opportunities for the children and train them on how best to resolve and mitigate conflicts that don't resort to violence. And we have realized in the past 8 months since returning to school in September, an uptick on some violence and vandalism issues, as well as some harassment, intimidation, and bullying issues. And we've employed extra staff. This board has recommended a few additional counseling staff members at our middle school levels to help provide that support and to help give vehicles for our children to learn, one, how to identify when they're experiencing a conflict and maybe in emotional distress, and how best for them to regulate those emotions and act in an appropriate manner that doesn't resort to violence.
I mean, any other programs that we are thinking of in terms of, just giving students some type of a, mental kind of a health training, some type of meditation, or, something which kind of makes them feel like less anxiety, less anxious, less prone to, just trying to get into conflict situation and things like that?
Yeah, we're exploring many different programs, and we actually have some in place already as far as teaching kids how to self-regulate their emotions, as well as mindfulness and training like that, such as yoga and meditation. That's a part of our curriculums as well. And again, I think any and all those things we can do in today's modern, rapid-paced world where everybody seems frustrated and wants to get everything done yesterday, anything we do to help reduce the level of anxiety with our students and with our staffs at times is welcome.
I think with this.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, can I comment?
Mr. Rivera.
Also, Shivi, when we do these reports, usually you're reporting these acts, but you're also providing the trainings and the programs that you're offering within the district. So each school is usually different. In my district, every school does different activities. Majority of them have the same trainings. But when you submit this paperwork, usually you're providing trainings and programs as well. So I know, so the districts definitely have to be doing it.
Typically in October, Mr. Rivera, that's when we go over all that in our October report out from the previous 6 months.
Got it.
Sorry, cough drop.
Anyone else? Okay, public comments on the violence and vandalism report only. Ms. Kerstetter.
Good evening, Board. Sarah Kerstetter, Echo Ave. Can we have a listing of what schools these violent activities partake in? Also, what type of weapons and what schools this happened in? I know if also harassment filings can be added to this as well. I know that it was mentioned about harassment on the board just recently. My daughter was racially profiled and harassed for being white. It was addressed with the school. And the response was, we can't see who the person is because the videotape is grainy. That's what I got from the school. I didn't press any further because she was also told that she shouldn't have been at the basketball game. That's what I got for harassment by the school district. So you guys aren't doing what you're supposed to be doing. That's it.
Thank you.
Just on that, Ms. Cursett, if you wanted to touch base with me, we can go over some of those things. I think I did hear you say there was a complaint about the video cameras. We'll take a look at that. But the specifics of that case, I can't talk about in public, but I would be more than happy if I could help you with that.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it happened in January, right after we got back from break. I know the political climate and the social climate right now. I wanted the student who did this to be spoken to because it was a male student. He put his arm around her, and it was a racial comment made to her. The guidance counselor told me that the videotape was grainy. They couldn't tell if it was male or female, and that she shouldn't have been at the basketball game. That's what I got from the district. So in essence, I'm not saying I want the kid, anything done with the kid, but I at least didn't want to be told that it's my daughter's fault. So again, you know, and the videotapes and the recordings I see from TJ, from Edison High, all the fights, you know, the teacher that got punched in the face. I mean, this is a common occurrence in our district. I mean, it's just, it is what it is, but I mean, yeah.
Thank you. Any other public comments regarding the violence and vandalism report? Okay. Can I have a motion to approve the violence and vandalism report?
Motion.
Mr. Patel, motion. Any seconds?
Second.
Ms. Madiger, second. Roll call, please.
Dr. Haydock?
Here, yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried.
Okay, thank you very much. Next, we'll move on to public comments regarding resolutions only. The agendas were available in the back of the room. We have resolutions that we'll be voting on shortly. Any public comments on resolutions only? Hi, ma'am.
Good evening.
Hi. You have 6 minutes.
We're not sure if this is when we should address it, but we just wanted to address what's going on at Lindenau Elementary School with our principal. I don't know if that's part of the personnel resolutions, because it's hard to figure out what's going on. So is this the wrong time?
We'll reserve your comments for the broad public comments, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Because there's no specific resolution on any specific.
So that wasn't, okay, we didn't know.
Okay.
Yeah, you'll have your we'll have 6 minutes for you.
Okay, hopefully it's not at 10 o'clock.
Ms. Campione.
Hello, Sue Campione, HF Court. Just a quick question, or to point something out. National School Nurses Day is in here, and Teacher Appreciation Day, which is wonderful, but tomorrow is also Administrative Support Day, and that's not in here. So just thought you might want to add it. Thanks.
Thank you. Any other comments on resolutions only? Ms. Conway?
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. I just would like an update on coaching positions. Has there been a problem still finding people to take coaching positions within the district, that we have to go out of the district within to hire still? Or has that been resolved? Because I remember a number of months ago there was a question about coaching staffing, and I was just wondering, because I did see there is a position, and I don't know the person, but I was just wondering if they are from within the district, or are we still at the point where we have to go out of district to hire coaches for our students?
Yeah, we do have some issues with getting a significant amount of coaches. Some are in district, some are out of district. You know, some of the coaches that were appointed tonight, that's for the spring season, that's already started. So we did have some latecomers in filling some of those positions, especially middle school. Unfortunately, those positions don't pay a lot of money for people, and it is sometimes difficult to find people, as well as at the secondary. If you ask me off the top of my head how many of those coaching positions were in district or out of district, I couldn't give you that number.
Okay, at a later date, can you give it to me?
Of course.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Conway. Any other public comment? Resolutions only. Yes, Ms. Spadovsky.
Carol Podolsky, 39 Jonathan Drive. I noticed when Mrs. Campione got up to speak, she definitely did mention instructional or administrative support personnel who are very important people in our district. Everyone who works in our district is very important, but those are three that are especially important to me: School Nurse Day, Teacher Appreciation Day, and Administrative Support Personnel Day are one day out of 180 or more days in the year that we take a minute and reflect on these people, thank them for what they do, let them know that we appreciate what they do, because all of these people go above and beyond every single day. And for the past 4 years, the days have been very long and very hard, and these people have borne the brunt of what's been happening every day and doing the best they can to help our children. So I did want to just point out those three things, and I wanted to thank Mrs. Campione for the hard work she does, and that all three of these areas are very important. And sometimes, if parents knew that that was those days, they at least could let their child draw a picture at home and send it in to the teacher. Obviously, the high school students might not do that, but they might clip an article or color a flower or something to send to them. Just to let them know on this one day out of 180 some, in some really tough years, someone is appreciating them. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Venkat.
Yeah, thank you, Doug. I have seen a resolution for the high school curriculum changes, but I couldn't find them in the appendix. But I just want to ask, are you guys approving the removal of biology lab for the high school as part of the resolution today? If not, obviously you see 3 members are absent. And last time I requested Brian Rivera and Virginia White to ensure that in spite of having $300 million of budget, we don't want to lose biology lab for our kids, and especially for high school. And the rigor is, very important, and I'm sure that your school leadership will know, the high school principals can tell you that how much difficult it is for the placement this year. I don't want to really disturb the parents that, oh, the placements are not that great. I think to an extent our kids are able to secure, but not having the biology extra lab and reducing the credits for the biology lab will hurt those students who want to take the sciences as major. So I sincerely request the board members, especially Brian Rivera and Virginia White, to table this till you have the other people coming in. Please don't push the biology lab cancellation, the reduction in this one. It is not the right time. And I also saw that the agenda was changed yesterday. The agenda should not be updated, at least posted 48 hours. So I think when I checked day before yesterday, there was something, and as of yesterday evening, the agenda is changed. I hope you guys will practice transparency, just not saying it, put it in action. Please don't change the agenda within 24 hours. At least give us 48 hours so that we'll be having time. We also have works. We need to go and review it. So something is suspicious that you guys moved and changed the agenda. I don't have the copy. I certainly would like to see the delta of changes that you guys introduced last night in the agenda. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, just regarding the biology, we talked about that at the last board meeting, and we did talk about at length on what we could do. And we're not getting rid of lab. The lab will occur. It just won't be in 6 periods. It will be in 5. And as we said numerous times, it's not the best solution, but it's the best of a bad situation. And when we can abate the overcrowding issues, we would go back to what we had before with that class and with some other classes that we reduced from 7 to 6 periods in previous years.
Can I comment?
Yes, Mr. Rivera.
Yeah, thank you. Just want to let you know that me and Mrs. White and the rest of the board probably spoke about 10, 15 times about this after we tabled it. There isn't any popular decision. There's no good decision. All we could do is come up with a temporary decision. And I do have minutes and everything from our last board meeting that I'll review for the curriculum meeting. But I know Dr. Bregan spoke to every board member here in regards to it. I know I spoke to multiple board members regarding it. And I know there's been very long conversations in regards to this issue. So I want you to, it might not be a decision that you're a fan of, but I do want you to understand that we listened to you, we listened to the science teachers and the public, and we went back and we investigated it even further. I don't want you to think that you came here last time, said something, and we ignored you. Absolutely not. We looked into it and we spent some quality time on it. So I hope that answers your question.
And just to add to that, Mr. Rivera, last year there was a elimination of physics at one point. This year there's an elimination of a period of biology, not the lab, but a period. It's important to understand that these are all decisions that we intend on making very temporary. This is not something that once we have our infrastructure built, which you'll hear about in our committee report, but I'm sure you were at the meeting. We have plans to add classrooms, and once classrooms are there and we're able to offer our students the space needed, we're committed to bringing back anything that benefits our students and their curriculum needs. You could come back up after if somebody else has another, any other public comments that has not spoken, people that have not spoken yet? We'll start with you, Ms. Conway. No problem. 320.
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. When we talk about the biology and limiting the lab from 2 periods to 1 period, it was my understanding, and I was at this meeting, where that particular item was tabled, so it was not voted upon. Are you saying that it is now going forward without it not being officially voted upon? Is that what you just said? Or it's still in discussion and it has not been voted upon and it will be voted upon at a future meeting? So the parents of every single 9th grader that will be taking biology will have a limited lab, whereas, no offense, physics not every student takes. So it's a limited number of students that would have lost that lab. But now biology, you're talking about every single freshman will be limited as to their lab, where, no offense, a majority of students learn the most during the labs. So at this point in time, You have not officially voted upon to cut back from 2 periods to 1 period. It's still in a long discussion, is the clarification I'm looking for. Or are you doing it without a vote?
It's in the curriculum under Program of Studies for this evening's vote as one of the resolutions.
So it's under the program of studies, it's not the curriculum. So if you approve this, you're approving to move it from 2 periods to 1 period for biology lab. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Nothing less than excellence is being ignored.
Ms. Madiger?
So I don't want to scoop Brian's curriculum committee report, but I just wanted to talk about exactly, the discussions that happened. So basically, this is not something that any of the board members here are happy about or want to do it. Now, what is happening is that there are 56 new students coming into 9th grade, 56 new students, 56 more students rather. And now these students have to be accommodated not just in biology, but also in English, in math, and all other subjects. Now how, and I'm really sorry, Brian, I know you have all this in your report, but anyways. So how they do the master scheduling is they look at the total population of the school, which is about 2,700 students, and divide them into 4 equal parts for the lunch. And lunch periods are half periods. And so you really can't schedule. So everything is kind of built around that. Now, because of the shortage in classrooms, and this problem should have actually been fixed years ago. We should have not come to this level where now, we are literally bleeding at this point. And these are just, kind of temporary solutions. Nobody wants to do this forever. But if we don't, 3 options were presented to us, that these were the 3 ways in which, we could address the shortage. This was the best of those options. And you can imagine what the other options were. So this is something which every board member, none of these board members here, nobody wants this. Nobody wants it. But at this point, because of the overcrowding, there is just no option. I mean, why would any board member or any administrator, why would anybody want to do this? Why would anybody want to cut any class which is required? So, so that's all I want to say.
Thank you, Ms. Madiger. You haven't spoke yet, sir? Resolutions only, okay? Yep.
So my name is Vijay, DY, and I'm the resident of Edison from Dolores Drive. So the continuation to that, right? So you guys said that you're going to cut the class.
Can you just pull the microphone down close to you? Thank you.
Is it audible?
Yeah,
Mr. Board
perfect,
President?
thank you.
Thank you. So the biology class, you're cutting down for the reason of shortage in the rooms, I guess. So the question what I have is, your teachers who have been teaching the biology, the additional lab, they're not gone anywhere. They're still being paid. The students who wants to get the second lab for the biology, they are also not going anywhere. Just because you have a shortage of in rooms is in a shoddy explanation from the Board of Education without understanding the impacts on the on the kids' curriculum. It's in a completely lopsided decision is what I feel. So unless until if the board is good enough to explain us what are the 3 decisions that was put forward and the rationale behind making this decision, could you please help us understand? Thank you.
That's on the curriculum
Thank
report.
you. We'll explain that, exactly that. Ms. Kerstetter.
Okay, so you're going to cut a biology lab. So you say this is temporary. So is this temporary meaning in 5 years when you have the 10 school classrooms for Edison High and the 30 classrooms for JP Stevens. Is that when it's going to be put back on the schedule? Because when I asked last meeting, you couldn't give me an answer, and the response was it's overcrowding and it's residents' fault because we don't pass referendums. So we're in this position because of us residents. So I would like to know that if you're cutting this and you keep saying it's temporary, does that mean after 5 years, when we get the 10 classrooms and the 30 classrooms, this will be back into place? Because the board made a decision last year to cut math in 7th grade. So my daughter went from basic 6th grade math, no pre-algebra, right into algebra. And I have found out from coming to these board meetings and starting to get part of the community with other moms, have found out that this is a common issue across our whole board or our whole district for 7th graders struggling in algebra. The teachers are beyond stressed out. Normal behavior from these teachers are not like their behavior in the classroom is not normal. I know some of these teachers, they are beyond stressed out because of the math tests that are coming in May to make sure that all of their students are up to algebra standards. My daughter went from pulling 90s and 100s to now pulling 70s. 70s. I hired a tutor. Her father, who's an engineer, also tutors her. My 9th grader also helps her when her tutor can't help her. I've been involved in WhatsApp groups and been invited to them a month ago because John Adams set up their own little training with the math teachers to help the students to get up to par, because the district decided to move all the 6th graders, a lot of the 6th graders, to algebra with no pre-algebra. So now you're going to cut a basic class for lab, for biology, for 9th graders. And you think that they're going to be up to par for 10th, 11th, and 12th grade. I mean, have any of you talked to the math teachers? I mean, Brian, you said that you were going to have a special meeting with the teachers. I didn't see it in the meeting notes. You said in the last board meeting that you would meet with the teachers when the JP Stevens teachers were here, that them and the principal met and worked out different classrooms to use for that extra period. Were they even consulted? I mean, have you guys even talked to the math teachers? Have you even talked to the students? Students are crying in algebra class about taking tests and coming up to par because they miss pre-algebra. And the response I got back from the district last summer was, I pay for summer school to get my daughter up to algebra standards. That's not right. That's not right. But now you're going to cut biology lab. And when is it going to go back in? Is it going to go back in 5 years? I mean, you say it's overcrowding, but is it going to go back in 5 years? I'd like to know.
Thank you. Mr. Venkat. $350, please.
Sure. I think, Doug, your vice president has given you the hint of the physics, but you need to understand that, as Conway pointed out, that physics is not mandatory subject for anybody, but every 9th grader has to take the biology. And if I remember, last year, it was cut for AP physics biology, which is not even 0.05%. So it means if you really look at in your 1,500 9th graders or 10th graders, 11th graders, you'll be seeing less than 100 kids, but whereas your entire 1,500 kids are taking the biology. So now last year, you guys cut just because somebody made a mistake of AP physics, like Conway mentioned. You cannot cut the bones with biology. And it's 2 labs, and you're cutting 50% of the labs. If anybody who is a mathematician, you're cutting 50% of biology is definitely not acceptable. And the second thing is, I understand the space and other stuff, that labs could have more people, or you could actually, do something. But, I would not have worried even the teaching is reduced, but lab teachers is doing a lab is 10 times more than listening in the class. and you're really, really hurting our students, especially the science students. That is number one. And the number two, Brian, you said each and every board member is in agreement. No. I know that all the three people who are absent are not in agreement. Shannon was very vocal, Jerry was vocal, Mohin was vocal. All three of them are there. Were they really absent or they boycotted? I really wanted to see this. Is there a division open? Now, I'm sure that Virginia White will vote against it now to table it, because that is something that she will not favor the kids to lose 50% of their biology lab, which is 10 times better than the learning. And the teachers came here, Brian, last meeting. Biology teachers from the high schools came here and voiced their opinion. What did you guys do to shut them off? I don't agree that biology teachers are happy. I'm in touch with some of the teachers. I'm in touch with the board members. All of them are not in alignment. If you guys wanted transparency, I'm challenging you guys. Can you postpone to this next meeting where full board is going to be available? I know Kevin joined. Kevin may vote for you. You have 5-4. But last time you have 4-4. You guys put that table date. And if you really want transparency, and I really look like to see this, let's bring it. In the meantime, we will also bring the parents. I thought that you guys are going to discuss and try to bring openly that, oh, we are making this change. Now, Conway knows that what is agenda, and she couldn't see the agenda of biology. You guys have sneaked that in and trying to approve it. Same thing with middle school A and B schedule. And I don't know, to be honest with you, Brian, I had a great respect, and today, after whatever you said to justify your decision, I think you guys are trying to put under the mat, not making parents aware that biology is being changed. I don't know whether you guys are allowing middle school AB schedule also, but transparency is needed, and you guys lost my trust. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Can I say something, Douglas?
Yes, Ms. White.
Hi.
Just pull your microphone down a little bit.
Okay. You all have to know how unhappy we are about this. We do not want this to happen. Our administration and superintendent have gone through the program of studies and, checked with the different buildings. Right now, there just are not enough classrooms to run these classes. Science classes, to me, are very, very important. I'm very unhappy that this is the way that this probably will have to be for this year. Overcrowding is a monster that plagues our district. This is why we don't have room. We just don't have room to do all of the things that we want to do. Not anybody on this board is for cutting those biology classes, and I, for one, am very much against it, but we have no choice. And we have to understand this. This would be the very last thing that we would ever want to do. That's why we have to make overcrowding our priority. We have got to get the room so that we can do the best we can for our students. They're our future. This is something that we need to do to make things better. I know you're unhappy about it. And because I am very unhappy about it. And I bet if you asked every single person up here, they would say the exact same thing. We're just trying to do the very best we can for our students, our parents, and our district. So, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Any further public comment on resolutions only? Okay, with that, we're going to move to a motion to approve these resolutions. The first one is going to be personnel. Do I have a motion to approve the personnel report?
Motion.
Ms. Madiger, motion. A second?
Motion.
Brian Rivera is the second. Roll call, please.
Dr. Haydock? Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Ms. White?
I have to abstain on 12, but the rest of the report is fine.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes on everything, abstain on 17.
And Mr. Schneider?
Yes on everything, abstain on number 9, please.
Yes, motion is carried.
Thank you. Next, we have a motion. Can I have a motion to approve the administration, curriculum and instruction, and pupil and special services reports, please?
Motion.
Biro Patel motion. A second?
Second.
Second, Ms. Madiger. Roll call, please.
Dr. Haydock?
Yes.
We're also going to add this resolution for the settlement agreement, coded DD.
Dr. Haydock?
Yes.
Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
All yes, motion is carried.
Next, a motion to approve the finance report, please.
Motion.
Ms. Madiger, motion. Second?
Second.
Mr. Biro Patel, second. Roll call, please.
Dr. Haydock?
Abstain from A, yes to B, C, and D.
Okay. Mr. Rivera?
Yes.
Mr. Burrell Patel?
Yes.
Mrs. White?
Yes.
Mrs. Madiker?
Yes.
Mr. Schneider?
Yes.
Yes, motion is carried.
Thank you very much. We're going to move to committee reports now. Mr. Shi is not with us tonight, so I'm going to take care of his Food and Nutrition Committee report. I'm on this committee along with Ms. White, who's here, and Ms. Peng, who's not here. Attending this meeting was Dr. Bragan, Ms. Cluck, Dr. Aldarelli, and some folks from Macchios. I'm going to read Mr. Shi's synopsis of the meeting. As the follow-up from the last food committee meeting, Macchios is working with the 2 high schools and 2 middle schools to increase the breakfast participation. Due to multiple standardized testing in high schools, no major increase in high school participation. However, JAM's participation doubled. Macchios will plan to have carts outside of Woodrow Wilson Middle School to distribute the breakfast when the weather is warmer. Macchios will be looking to expand hot breakfast to middle schools besides what they already do at Thomas Jefferson. With the addition of the weekly fruit and vegetable rotation schedule in the winter, it significantly improved the amount of fresh produce the students are taking with their lunch. Multicultural menu items are being offered mostly at the high school. At the March food advisory meetings with multiple schools, students expressed some of their favorites are still mac and cheese, pizza, mozzarella sticks, and hamburgers. Macchios will continue a variety of multicultural food items, but will focus on increasing participation. Some examples of multicultural menu items include an Asian noodle bar, burrito bowl bar, chicken masala, chickpea gyros, etc. Halal option of cheeseburger and crispy chicken sandwiches are still available at high schools, but due to the very low participation in the menu, the choice of menu items is limited, and the halal option will remain at the high schools. Multiple food advisory committee meetings were held at middle and high schools, and brief food tasting, a variety of plant-based and vegan recipes were offered given Edison's student demographic data. Macchios also reviewed a variety of nutrition education, such as reducing sodium and sugar, as well as more fiber in the lunch through fruits, veggies, and whole grains. The majority of the students enjoyed the recipes and would recommend the vegetarian menu. At elementary schools, Macchios conducted fresh herb show and tell for students to touch and smell. Tasting of chickpeas and freshly chopped herbs were offered, and different facts of chickpeas were reviewed with the students. Students were encouraged to provide feedback and suggestions of their overall experience of service and menu options at all levels. Feedback was very positive. Macchio's resident dietitian continues to work with school nurses and parents on getting more students with life-threatening food allergies on the Allergy Safe menu program. Ingredients and manufacturing labels are available on interactive digital menus specifically created for Edison by Macchios. The district and the vendor all understand there are some required paperwork needed by regulations to get the students set up. However, the district encourages our parents work with our students, or our nurses and our food vendor to take advantage of those offerings. The committee discussed the importance of the breakfast for our students. Although the free meal program by the federal government will end next year, that's in September, the committee is recommending to the whole board to pilot the program of providing free breakfast to all of our students in the 2022-2023 school year, just like we did this year. The board will receive reimbursement from the free and reduced lunch program and supplement any additional cost from the budget if needed. The district will encourage parents to fill the reduced and free lunch form in September on the parent portal. The $2.95 cost to refill the lunch money each time using the current program is a concern to the committee. The committee asked our administration team to look into possible other vendors for the financial part of that. Given the performance of Macchio's this school year, this is very important. Given the performance of Macchio's this school year and their willingness to work with the district as a partner, the committee is recommending renewing the contract with Macchio's for the next 2 years to the board. Also very important, the district has resolved all outstanding issues with Chartwell, and Macchio's will double-check the previous kitchen equipment needs for the James Madison primary kitchen expansion and acquire the kitchen design from the vendor who worked with Chartwell. The board is hoping the JMP kitchen will be completed before September and the new school year. So that meeting was adjourned. That was on April 1st. It was a very, very good meeting. And I have to say that the Macchio's people continually show their professionalism. And as a food service guy in my other kind of life, I'm continually very, very impressed with them. So kudos to them. Next report. Township Liaison Committee, Ms. White.
Thank you. Okay, the Township Board of Ed Liaison Committee was held on Tuesday, April 5th, beginning at 11 a.m. and ending at 12:04 p.m. at the Education Center. In attendance were Commissioner Charles Tamaro, Council VP Joy Ship Freeman, Councilman Richard Brescher, Councilwoman Margot Harris, BOV VP Shivi Prasad Madikar, BOA members Moen Patel via Zoom, Virginia White, Chair, Superintendent Bernard Bragan, and Dr. Edward Adarelli, Human Resources Director, and Sergeant Douglas Turner, Edison PD. Also in attendance via Zoom were Deputy Fire Chief, Office of Emergency Management Coordinator, Andy Toth, Deputy Chief of Police, Bob Dudiash, Pat Coyle, Constituent Relations Coordinator for Edison Township. The committee welcomed everyone to the meeting, and we have 2 new members, Councilwoman Margot Harris and Councilman Rich Brescher. We began our meeting with Deputy Chief Toth. He provided an update on current COVID-19 numbers in the community. Our numbers remain low, and they are still monitoring the situation and make changes as necessary if needed. The township is still working on FEMA allocations for the flooding caused by Hurricane Ida. The paperwork takes quite a bit of time. Hurricane Ida affected 21 pumping stations. We are beginning to get funds back, but it could take up to 1.5 years. Superintendent Bragan followed up on the gym floor at Edison High School, the repair and reimbursement from FEMA, and we're waiting for a response. Chief Toth and Joy Ship Freeman are actively working on the Township Careers video. Deputy Chief Dudash reported on promoting junior police academies in grades 6, 7, and 8, and is excited about the beginning of this program. The recruit numbers for the high school are currently on the low side, but it's still early, and he's looking to increase that number. Deputy Chief Dudash requested an assist in getting the information out, and Dr. Bragan confirmed the district would assist. The DARE program is working in schools on promoting drug awareness. There is a presentation on opioids. In addition, an assembly on vaping for grades 5. The DARE program is doing very well in school. Deputy Chief Dudash indicated that the township is researching privatizing school crossing guards to help provide stability in staffing and reduce the burden on police. Sergeant Doug Turner updated the committee on the revised traffic pattern during the arrival and dismissal at Herbert Hoover Middle School. It seems to be going well, and people are getting acclimated to the new pattern. Sergeant Turner also reported that changes to Floyd and Hollywood are currently with the township engineers for proposed improvements and revisions. Questions were posed about traffic on Woodrow Wilson, and various possible solutions were suggested, including flashing lights on crosswalks on Plainfield Road. Per Commissioner Tamaro, the county could build it and the town would have to maintain it. This is a complex matter and it's still being researched. The reason is that it involves both the town and the county. Pat Coyle, the Constituent Relations Coordinator for Edison Township, said that the road issues at Floyd Street are being addressed
and there were recent changes in the engineering department, but it is on their radar. At the request of a committee member, Mohan Patel, Mrs. White asked Mr. Coyle if in the cases of questionable residency with enrollment, could we coordinate to confirm residency via tax rolls? He suggested that the township attorney would have to review the request to ensure taxpayer rights were not violated. Questions were posed as to how we could better coordinate efforts to work together to identify non-residents, and Dr. Bregan said he would set up a meeting to explore options. Commissioner Tamaro spoke on the process involved in getting additional traffic lights and crosswalks, working in concert with the county government. He also noted that on Sunday, April 24th, a fundraiser at Topgolf from 11 to 2 for Hands of Hope is scheduled. He further reported that Plays in the Park returned to Roosevelt Park this summer with 3 productions, beginning with Something Rotten starting in the month of June. He will be in touch with Dr. Bergen regarding potential scholarships. The Art Society, the gazebo in Papiani Park, is complete and will officially be dedicated in May. They're working with the Chamber of Commerce on painted pianos around town this summer and spring. And there's a new artist displaying her work at the municipal building's 3rd floor. Her name is Shelley Phillips, and if you get the opportunity, please visit. The Hall of Honor at J.P. Stevens is scheduled for April 13th. Mayor Sam Joshi, Council VP Joy Ship Freeman, and Deputy Chief Dudish are being inducted. That all 3 of them are active members of the Liaison Committee. The next Liaison Committee meeting will be scheduled on May 10th. Respectfully submitted, Virginia White, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Rivera, Curriculum Committee.
Thank you. So the curriculum meeting met on April 14th. We met from 5 to 6 p.m. Board members in attendance were Ms. Manakar, Mr. Biro Patel, myself, and Douglas Schneider. Administrators in attendance were Dr. Bregan, Ms. Palakowski, Ms. Mahir, and Dr. Atui. There was 3 things that were on the agenda. It was a secondary update, an elementary update, and special education. For the secondary update, we talked about the overcrowding concerns at J.P. Stevens for the 2022 and 23 school year. It was discussed that the JP capacity for the 22-23 school year hit a tipping point. The enrollment numbers were discussed, and there was an increase from 9th grade and to also 11th grade. So the numbers in 9th grade for the next year are they're moving up by 53. We're losing 7 out of 10th grade. 31 more are coming in 11th grade, and then 10 are leaving from 12th grade. So in reality, we have to find rooms for 67 students. So we started discussing the classroom needs for the 2022-23 school year. We would need 1 classroom per subject for 9th graders, which equals 6. You could still use some existing sections and try to absorb some of the kids and make the classroom sizes a little bit larger, but we're still going to need at least 6 classrooms. We need 1 classroom per core subject for 11th graders, so we need about 4. So we do have some existing sections where they also could absorb some students, but again, you're increasing classroom size. Then we also have an additional teacher for business and computer sciences, so we need a classroom for 5 periods. So for total rooms needed minimum, we need 15 classrooms for next year to house all these kids. That's what the issue is. We looked into the available classrooms. Period 1, there's 2 classrooms available. Period 2, there's 1 classroom available. Period 3, there's 1 classroom available plus 1 out of 4 days per week. Period 4-5, there's 2 classrooms available. Period 5-6, there's 0. Period 6-7, there's 0. Period 7-8, there's 1. Period 9-10, there's 2 plus 1 out of 4 days per week. Period 11, there's 4. Period 12, there's 1 plus 1/4 days per week. So there wasn't enough classrooms for this. So that's where this whole conversation led, that due to overcrowding, there isn't the space to house these additional kids. So we listened, last month, and we decided to table it, question our central administrators even more, and ask them for suggestions. So they came up with 3 temporary suggestions. Before I get to that, another thing that we found out that is there's more applications for AP Science classes. There was a 580 last year. For next year, there's going to be 701 now. So there's an increase of over 120 students. We talked about the master scheduling complications, and this is what Shivy was trying to discuss earlier. There's 2,700 kids at JP Stevens. You only have 4 lunches, so you have to divide those lunches equally to try to house everybody. And just even trying to do it equally, we've all been in the cafeteria, we see how crowded and difficult it is to sit to begin with. So part of the complications is to make sure that you're dividing those lunches evenly. It's difficult to schedule rooms 2 periods in a row, especially a science double period. We also found out there's fewer students requesting early release. There's more students taking full courses, which means they're taking more spots in the classrooms. And the one thing that JP Stevens is doing, and I'm sure Addison as well, is over 90% of the students who are enrolled for their first choice elective is actually getting it. So the students are getting what the courses that they want, which also hinders in the sense that we want to give them everything they want, but there's limited choices in specific places where you could schedule those classes. So they're trying to find some more classes also for other issues. So there are some electives that already have over 30 students in the class. So they want to find additional space to lower those amounts. And just looking at the number at 30, I'm pretty sure the reason why they're looking into doing those classes is for safety concerns. I think the average class size should be about 26, if I'm correct, unless it's a larger classroom. So the master schedule, room availability was discussed, and this is what I brought up earlier with the classrooms. A lot of the lunches are half periods, so it's the 4-5, the 5-6, and the 7-8, the 6-7, and 7-8, those periods. There's only 3 classes that are available during that time. So again, that complicates scheduling. Central administration, again, investigated 3 temporary options. Again, I say temporary because, again, I'm hoping that this overcrowding will be rectified as soon as possible, hopefully on my term. But the 3 temporary options were cutting biology classes, or cutting AP classes, and disallowing students in the 12th grade to take 2 sciences. Or purchase trailers and retrofit 2 classes, which we looked at would be too expensive. So based on the options right now that were presented to us, and again, the entire board is not happy with this, and they all had conversations with central administration, including Dr. Bragan, and unfortunately, cutting the period of biology is probably the best temporary option moving forward due to the overcrowding. The other thing that was discussed was the program of studies. Only changes were the name changes that were discussed previously in the past board meetings. There's an anticipated credit change for biology now. There was no changes to computer science. There was a wrong version of the draft that was provided earlier. Summer school scheduling offerings were also discussed. It was stated they'll be similar from last year. Some programs to help students accelerate in some classes. There will also be some refresher classes and additional classes to prepare kids for next year. And it's going to be for various grade levels and programs. Came to the second item of the agenda, which was elementary update. There was a discussion on the kindergarten start date, and there was the discussion that there will be an orientation held for parents. And the final agenda was special education. We discussed the comprehensive school threat assessment guidelines. It's an evidence-based model for schools to use in conducting threat assessments in the K-2 schools. So the priority of the district is the safety of students and staff. So the department is working on a standard model for the district, working on a process, working on providing training and procedures to roll this out all for September. And that is my report.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. I'll take this one. This is the Facility Improvement Committee report. This was a public meeting. Proud to say that this is held in public. This is available on YouTube if you want to watch it. And it was on Wednesday, March 30th from 6 to 8 p.m. Mr. Patel, Ms. Madiger, myself, Mr. Rivera, Biro Patel, Virginia White, and Mr. Shi were in attendance. And this was a very robust conversation. Dr. Bragan presented us a PowerPoint presentation that's available online. If you'd like to go on the district website, you could look at it. And obviously, I encourage everyone to watch the YouTube video. And it was a jumping off point for a very robust infrastructure plan. This capital improvement plan will, in a nutshell, essentially solve overcrowding in our district, and it should happen in a 5-year period. Plans include, not limited to, but include classroom additions to J.P. Stevens, a big one here, 30 classrooms. JMI, John Marshall, JAMS, and Edison High School classroom additions. Huge common space additions at schools like JMI, Washington, Lindenau, Ben Franklin, MLK, and all 4 middle schools. This plan touches every single student that comes through our Edison School District. It's a 5-year project that will solve the overcrowding with using our already existing capital reserve funds in combination with our already obtained ESSER funds and our anticipated capital funds without needing to take on an increased debt burden for the taxpayers. This is our first phase. Our next phase would include expansion of pre-K, beginning with 4-year-old pre-K and then 3-year-old pre-K, which is great for our taxpayers in Edison and our residents. Timeline for this capital improvement, hopefully, I know Dr. Bragan's working hard on it already. However, we have 2 architects of record that will essentially divide the project load, and the bid's going out this summer, and shovels should be in the ground on many of these projects during this fall period. We discussed kindergarten. A member of the public came and asked about if our existing infrastructure can handle full-day kindergarten, and we believe we can. Dr. Bragan expanded on that point, but if we do move to pre-K, we will need more infrastructure. And our pending business is very important. That's going to be the next exciting meeting. Obviously, again, in public, this is great. The committee, the whole concept, gets it all out in front of everyone, and that is going to be a soon-to-be announced date. I think we're going to do in the next few weeks. And we're going to hear all about what Dr. Bragan has done thus far with this capital improvement plan and in talking with the architects to see where we're at with that. So that's it for that. And we next have our Budget and Oversight Committee report by Mr. Biro Patel.
Thank you, President. So the Budget Planning and Oversight Committee, we met on March 28th. This was a follow-up meeting in continuation with the discussions related to the Energy Savings Program implementation. Board members in attendance were myself, Brian Rivera, Jerry Shee, and President Schneider. Dr. Bragan, Mrs. St. Clark, Dr. Eldarelli, and Bill Colibas, our facilities director. They attended from the administrators. And the vendors in attendance were representatives from DMR Architect, Pradeep Kapoor, and representatives from Honeywell Energy and DCO Energy. The business discussed was presentation by both Honeywell and DCO Energy about the whole energy savings program. So Honeywell made the first presentation, DCO went second. Both the companies were very, very good and presented information on goals of the energy savings plan and how the district can benefit over years, and essentially how the program, if implemented, could be potentially zero cost, to the district, and we get savings out of that program. So the vendors' estimates were based on different energy conservation measures, and they had different fee structures for both. And both also provided information to the district on the guarantee that in case after the finishing of the initial investment grade audit that they perform, if selected, and the district does not decide to move forward with this program after the initial investment grade audit, then the district essentially does not have to pay anything. It will not cost anything at that point of time. It will be refundable. That will be something that we can look into a few months from now, depending on how the investment grade audits go. The ESSER funds, roof and solar items were one of the major discussion items as well. And this really was the right time to discuss that, because we are also working on, as President Snyder just reported, on the facilities improvement plan. So while we are doing upgrades to the school, there is no better time than this to work on the energy savings program and implement all these programs together. So for example, let's say if there is a roof work going on in some school and supposed to be happening, might as well work that out with the solar implementation if we decide to move forward with that. So one of the best things I liked is, and all the committee members also appreciated and liked that, is the vendors also added that should they be selected, both the vendors, either of them get selected, they would have a student education as a part of the proposal, which would educate our high school students about the program while the program is being placed. So it's an incredible learning opportunity for the students. So they have done that in other districts. They showed samples of that. And after reviewing the presentations, the recommendation was made by the superintendent today, which was on the agenda today. The next budget planning and oversight committee meeting was on 5th April, and the board members in attendance were myself, Brian Rivera, Jerry Shee, and President Schneider. Again, the administrators, Dr. Bragan, Mrs. Hancock, Dr. Elderelli, and Bill Colibas were present. Everyone saw Mr. Andrew present the auditor's report today. That was one of the first items discussed in that meeting. And we also had representatives from DMR Architect present to speak about SIP program. So I will skip the details which are in the on the website about the audit report because everyone saw that today. I would move to the energy savings program. The representatives from DMR Architect went over several aspects of the project. Again, in detail, this was third time the committee members saw in detail about the energy savings program. All the 3 times the representatives from the architect were present. There was enough research and study done and enough opportunities were given for the committee members to ask questions about the program. And the committee talked about vendors for the initial investment grade audit. After that, which was presented again in today's meeting, after that, the committee discussed about robotics and AI program funding, which we had discussed earlier as well. This was the second time this was brought up in coordination with the budget. So this part was discussed as a follow-up from previous meetings that Dr. Bragan was going to reach out to the principals. So Dr. Bragan also noted to check, so committee asked Dr. Bragan to reach out to the principals, and Dr. Bragan also noted to check with the music supervisor for the needs for that program. This was for the different program, I got mixed up here, but yeah, so the robotics and AI program, that's what we discussed. So I believe we have a meeting tomorrow where we're going to talk further about this particular program, about inclusion of that in the budget, and the music, what we do about the music as well. There are a few other items for the meeting tomorrow which will be updated in the next meeting, but that's all related to the budget. Facilities and current project update. Dr. Bragan updated on the Lincoln School project and confirmed that it looks on track for the September school start. Mr. Colibas updated the asbestos abatement for the Edison High School auditorium is done, and flooring abatement was next in schedule that I'm sure there are more updates now at this point. So we'll have a wonderful auditorium and meetings will be there once it starts in fall. President Schneider asked about updates of pipe underneath the pavement. This came up in one of the township liaison meetings and is one of the things where district could really benefit if that's found out. And we'll have an update on that very soon. Biral Patel asked if the administration could provide a list of all the vendors who are up for renewal in June, and that's something that we'll review in the upcoming committee meetings. Committee asked if there are any changes to the preliminary budget, and Mr. Shee noted to modify technology positions. Mr. Rivera spoke about some funding issues, and the committee asked Dr. Bragan to review the list again with the administrators. So we will have that comprehensive review once again before the budget is all finalized and approved upon. So that being said, we will have a meeting again between now and the budget is approved, and we look forward for the budget meeting next week so we can have everything taken care of in that meeting. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Upcoming meetings, we have 2 opportunities in the next few weeks in May to see everyone here. There's a special meeting and a budget hearing on Wednesday, May 4th. That's at 7 p.m. We're going to be reviewing the budget and also going to closed session to do some things. We also have a caucus and public meeting combined on May 12th. That's a Thursday, and that's also here, and that's also a 6 p.m. start. Okay? And note that the May 18th meeting has been canceled. Very good. Board member comment. I will start this way. Ms. White, do you have any board member comments tonight?
Yes, just a couple. I'd like to welcome Dr. Hayek to the group. Lots of good luck and best wishes. And then I also wanted to mention Dr. Bragan and his team's plan for our facilities improvement. If you do get the opportunity, try and pull it up on YouTube so you can see that PowerPoint. I wish we could have done it here. He's done such a beautiful job, and I just love this plan because it touches every single building in district in a very, very good way, and it's a beginning. It's like a light at the end of the tunnel. So, I support him totally in this, and I just hope that it proves to be as beautiful as I think it will be. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. White. Mr. Rivera.
Thank you, Mr. Schneider. Just a couple of things. First of all, I do want to recognize National School Nurse Day and Teachers Appreciation Day as well. We haven't met since March, but there are some other days that passed by, and I think there should be other groups that should be recognized that also work just as hard. We did have Paraprofessional Day on April 2nd, National School Librarian Day on April 4th, and then we also had National Assistant Principals Week from the 4th to the 8th. So I want to recognize all three areas, and Nurses Day and Teacher Appreciation Day. I think everyone works very hard to support our kids in this district, in this town. So I want to commend you and recognize you guys. I also want to touch base with Mrs. White again with the facilities improvement. It does address some concerns that we've had for a long time. And we've been talking about overcrowding and how it's been affecting. And being on the board for the last 3 months, I really do see the impact of overcrowding and how it's hurting this community, and specifically our children and our people that are our teachers and staff that are assisting our kids. So I hope everybody has an opportunity to check out that plan. I think it's a good plan. I hope it works out. And other than that, I also want to congratulate. I saw a number of individuals that are retiring. I wish them well, and I thank them for their service. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rivera. Ms. Madiger.
So I just want to welcome Dr. Heda for, and look forward to working with you. I don't have any more comments today.
Thank you very much. Mr. Patel.
I got a lot of comments. Welcome, Dr. Hedok. Look forward to work with you. So hoping everyone had a wonderful spring break. Every year, Edison Township students have participated in the Odyssey of the Mind. So I would like to congratulate all the teams who participated. But like to mention the Menlo Park Elementary School came in first in the entire state in Odyssey of the Mind this year. So kudos to the coaches, Mrs. Blair and Mrs. McGowan, and all the students who received this achievement. And congratulations to Edison resident and the John Adams grad, Anika Bhatnagar. I just came across her. I saw her at in Tulip Walk Festival by Chamber of Commerce this past Sunday. Her efforts are really very commendable because she volunteers for the cause of organ and tissue donation on behalf of NJ Sharing Network. It's an NGO that works and saves lives and helps the spread message of organ and tissue donation, and quite some significant achievements she has made with that. There are students in JMI who worked on recycling program, and they apparently got second position in the entire state or something. I think parents voted for it, so that's an incredible achievement. So kudos to the entire community at JMI. We had the privilege to attend J.P. Stevens Hall of Honor. So obviously congratulations to everyone who received, but Mrs. Shiv Freeman, our council vice president, she is sitting here. So congratulations to you for getting that into that Hall of Honor. On April 1st, we attended Lena Harris Foundation Award Ceremony, and which is consistently done for a few years now, and is conducted by Gentleman Joseph Johnson. Incredible organization. It was very nice to see the excellent efforts of the mentors and the benefits that the mentees get out of the program. Every year they put so much time and efforts into that. Such an incredible program, and really admire all the efforts of the Lena Harris Foundation in continuing the spirit of this program. And since Brian Rivera already spoke about all, so second to what Mr. Rivera said, to all the staff and nurses and all the days, but since Mrs. Campion brought up, happy Administrative Professionals Day in advance. That's tomorrow. Many students are going on field trips in coming weeks, so this is after a couple of years. It must be very exciting for all the students, so wishing everyone a very safe and a wonderful experience in all those field trips. Definitely enjoy. And we see many school children all over the place who volunteered this month for the Earth Day and cleaning projects across the town in parks and all other places. So kudos to all these amazing Edison School students. Keep up the spirit. You folks are all awesome. And thanks for engaging in this community service. Thank you for everything you do. Last but not least, Dr. Bragan and Mrs. Clark, thank you so much for working consistently hard on the budget process. This was a journey and the experience for all of us. You made it very smooth. So looking forward for a great meeting next week. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Mr. Patel. Dr. Hayduck, welcome here.
Thank you, Mr. President. If I can get this microphone to work tonight, it'd be...
We hear you perfectly.
I'd be perfectly fine. I had some trouble earlier if you didn't hear me, but thank you, Mr. President. I just want to take this opportunity to really thank the board for the warm welcome that's here tonight, members of the community. I think I've received more phone calls from residents of Edison just thanking me for my efforts for coming into this vacant seat, but that individual's here tonight. Thank you, Carol. I met you many times, actually, but it's good to see you here tonight, and thank you for all your service to our community. I hope that I can mirror those same decisions as I sit here for many months to come, and then hopefully many years to come after November. A couple things Mr. Rivera did mention. There's important people in our district. Every hallway you walk down, starting from our students all the way into our main office with our secretaries. Our nurses are seeing more kids than ever on not only injury-based, but emotionally, some stresses, some anxiety. To recognize them only once a year is just not enough. They do wonderful things every day, so I appreciate that comment from the public. That we should be recognizing these individuals more than just once. Our secretaries pretty much run our show in the buildings. They know everything besides our custodians, who are probably second in command. Our administrative staff, our teachers, everybody should be recognized for what you do every day, because every single decision impacts our students. And hopefully this board hears you and hears all those decisions that we have to make sure those students get what they deserve. And finally, I just want to say Saturday ends Autism Awareness or Acceptance Month. That's another topic that shouldn't just be 1 month. These individuals deserve a full year or full dedication as a board, as a member of the community, as a society, to not only spread the awareness of autism, but also promote acceptance and also ignite change. So it ends on Saturday, but I hope this community, as well as every person in our world, continues that discussion and makes sure that they are the center of decisions too, not only in schools, but in our society. So at this time, I'll conclude, but thank you again for the warm welcome.
Thank you. Well said. I just wanted to expand, well, first of all, on the warm welcome for Dr. Hayduck. It was a non-traditional experience having the county superintendent help us with the vacancy. However, I think overall it was a positive one. And I want to just thank you for the effort there with the interview and everything else. As far as this month with our meetings, we talked a little bit about these committee reports, and something buried in the budget one that I wanted to expand a little bit on in board member comments is the ESIP program, which is the Energy Savings Plan, I believe it stands for, ESIP. You'll see that in budget notes a lot. And what that means essentially is a few years from now, you're going to see things like solar panels on our roof. You're going to see a replacement of all of our, maybe not all of them, but most of the boilers and the real nuts and bolts that run our buildings. And that's going to be done at no increased cost to our taxpayers. And essentially by making everything very efficient, replacing light bulbs, getting LEDs, doing things like the solar and everything, it's being paid for essentially based on the savings that we have on our energy bills. It's a really great program run through the state of New Jersey. Many districts have done it. Certainly predates me, but this was explored by our architect and our administrative team, and it's been a really positive learning experience for me, and I just want the public to really be aware of what the board is doing behind the scenes to not only save money for the taxpayers, but beautify the schools and increase or decrease our energy footprint, essentially. So it's very cool stuff. Without further ado, I want to move to public comments. So just a reminder, it's 6 minutes, and it's open public comment. Would anybody like to speak? Mr. VJ? I could hear you now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Board President and Board Vice President, I'm here on behalf of the cricket fraternity. We've been playing cricket for the last 22 years. We have not seen astronomical rise of the fees from $100 to $1,000 for this year. Okay, so if we want to understand, like, is anyone in the board who is in charge of cricket affairs to whom we can make a request to review this, because I'm going to tell some facts today. Can you please help me understand, like, who is in charge in the board to whom we can request on the cricketing affairs?
Just pause this time for a second. Thank you. Just so you're aware, you could speak, you have 6 minutes to speak, and you could ask all of your questions, and then we'll take note of your questions, and then we'll address them all at the end.
Sure.
It won't be a back and forth type thing.
Oh, just one
But just to be aware, you could address the entire board when requesting any information, and Dr. Bragan will answer some questions at the end if he feels it's appropriate.
Sure. So my question is directly only to the board president and board vice president and the in charge for the cricketing affairs or the field affairs. Only those people can answer them. That would be grateful. The first and foremost thing, right? So we have been playing the cricket for the last 22 years, and we've been investing money and time and managing all the facilities by ourselves, and we have been paying like $160 per annum per team. All of a sudden, the board has raised from $160 to $1,000 per season. We wanted to understand what's the rationale behind, even without taking into consideration of the cricketing fraternity, raising such the fees, the first part of it. Second thing is, the board of the recreation department charges $160 even today for this year, whereas Board of Education, without even consulting the cricketing fraternity into consideration, they just raised it $1,000 to do what? What is that we are going to get in return back? Nothing. Johnny on the spot, managed by the cricketing teams. Dirt to be put on the things have to be laid out by the cricketing teams. The other facilities like managing the cricketing activities on the field have to be managed by that. If we are paying all this our own expenses, what is the rationale behind that board has to charge us $1,000? We are not like orphans here, right? We are we are tax-paying residents here. We are already paying the tax here. Why is that we need to be paid? Second thing is, in all our teams, right, at least like majority of the teams, we came like 47 teams who are impacted with this decision. That means we are impacting about approximately 160 to 200 kids who will be playing with us will be impacted with this. Those are Edison Township kids who are part of these schools now have to start bearing that or footing the charges, what you guys are going to be doing it. We are accommodative for all the kids to come and play with us. So that's one part of it. The other one is this is a recreation sport. Why are you guys charging the recreation? What made you to think like, okay, the other thing is like, the board has been misfed of concocted facts which they believe is true, That might have led to this decision. If you look at the history of the cricket in Edison for the last 22 years, there are several thousands and thousands of volunteers who have picked up this sport and made the sport to be making it to the schools at this point of time. We all of us have trained the physical education, physical eds all across the township. At that point of time, you reached out to us asking for help, how we can promote this thing, given the fact that this township enjoys a lot of diversity. When you are able to consult for us to promote the cricket, the board could not even think for a second to take the cricketing fraternity into consideration or confidence before they make such decision, which is radical and irrational. I'm completely flabbergasted at this point of time that the board did not even think for a second. My request is, there are two requests we are making. For this year, you have given this decision in the last minute after the season has already started. So we could not even make a plans. My request is to the board president and board vice president and the board, whoever is in charge of the facilities, to keep the fees to on par with the recreation department, which is $160, and invite us. We all of us want to take responsibility. We will cooperate with you, not a problem. So we can agree to respectable fees. We're okay with it. But not like at $160 becomes $1,000. We are not prepared for that. So my request is to, at least for this year, given the fact that you did not even give us the time for us to think about it, since it's in the 24th hour is the decision has been made, and trusting on us, please make it to $160, and then call us. All of us will come to an agreement. I'm fine with that. So those are the two requests which I have made it. I just want to see, I wanted to, if there's a possibility for the board to call us for a special session for all the cricketing fraternity, all of us would like to come and meet. Can you able to do that for us? 3 questions I asked for.
Thank you.
Mr. Board President, can I just respond to a few of those things?
Sure, Dr. Bragan.
I'm trying to think when it was. It was probably sometime in March, but I did meet with 3 representatives from the cricket leagues, and we talked to them about what the process was going to be. Typically,
Vijay, your time's up. You're going to have to sit, and then.
No, my question is for you and Vice President, not for the superintendent.
Yeah, well, you don't really tell us who responds, but
my question is for that.
I understand. But as a superintendent, I wanted to share what information we had out there related to getting the information out there. So some of the information that was put out was I met with 3 representatives from the cricket teams. We talked about the process. And in the past, the Board of Education has never been involved in the cricket league. We've not had any interaction whatsoever. And last year, we wound up overseeing it and coordinating efforts. And, I know a lot of people in our office spent time working with a few people, I think yourself included, in scheduling things and doing that, which was a lot more work for us, but we tried to do it and accommodate it. So when discussions were about taking place for this year, the question arose was, how does this impact the children and the students in Edison Township? And typically what the understanding I had was the leagues were done primarily with adults and not necessarily students in the school. And the recreation department typically works in our buildings. An example would be basketball and wrestling and things like that with school-age children. So we had a conversation with the Board of Education, had a conversation with three representatives. Obviously, it's not everybody here. I understand that. And we shared that the transition would go back to the Recreation Department and there would be a use of facilities fee. My understanding was this year it was $500. I know you said $1,000, but perhaps I got that wrong. And that the Recreation Department would oversee that moving forward, that it wouldn't be the board's auspices or responsibility. And that the board would continue to do what we've been doing, which is we would roll the fields, or the pitches, and cut the grass as close to the weekends as much as we could. The typical use of facilities for an outside agency, for any group to use an outside facility, is $100 per occurrence. So we thought, in discussions that price was fair. I'm hearing you say that it wasn't, I understand that. But that was where we came to the conclusion which we did. That's all I have, Mr. Board President.
Thank you, Dr. Bragan. Speaking for myself, not the board. We, as a board, you mentioned taxes. and you mentioned you pay taxes, right? We don't see 100% of your tax bill. You pay property tax in this town. We see a percentage of it. I think last year it was 53%. Is that correct? 53% was the school tax levy? 57% in the 50s, right? $0 of that goes to adult recreation of any kind. This is for our students. This is for our children. These are dollars. And I could spend here all night talking about biology and physics. You see all the effort we put in. You've been here. I'm happy to see so many people here on a board meeting. This is great. You're hearing the things we talk about. When it comes to any adult sport, do not look at it as cricket. Any adult sport, we do not invest any time, nor should we be investing money in field maintenance, field construction, anything. When I pay my taxes are to be spent on schools and school children. Now, if there is a proposal somewhere, I haven't seen it on board president, there's a proposal somewhere of some sort of curriculum where cricket is involved. I think there could be some justification for development of cricket pitches. I also happen to go to the schools every weekend. I see people playing all the time on the cricket pitches. I'm surprised to hear nobody's played yet, because I've been seeing people play for months already on our property. This is school property. This is public property paid by the taxpayers for schools. I can question you on a lot of things. I could say, well, what do you need from us? What did we give you in the past? What did we do for you last year that we now took away that leads you to come here tonight? It's obvious that you were getting something you're no longer getting. Was it the discount? Is there a financial hardship? I was on a memo that Dr. Bragan sent to your group that went to every single person, and it said clearly, if there's a financial hardship and it's a true financial hardship, please let us know, and we'll talk about offering a discount. But I would imagine we're asking for $500 for how many weeks? Let's just say it's 10 weeks. I don't know how many weeks it is, but let's say it's 10. That's $50 a week. How many people play on a cricket team? 10? 15? That's $5. That's not a lot of money, right? So for a bunch of adults to not be willing to pay $5 to play on school property so we could cut the lawn, maintain the fields, clean up any trash, all of that kind of thing. Now you could say, well, we don't leave trash behind, we clean up after ourselves. That's great. That's what we hope our community does. We hope that anywhere our community plays, that happens. But I'm speaking for myself and not the rest of the board. And I don't. And if anybody would like to add to this, it's fine. But I know as a resident, when I pay my school, my property tax, and it's for the schools, I expect that money, every single dollar. That's why on these financial reports, we actually approve mileage reimbursement. If you're a teacher and you drove somewhere and we approve like a $13 mileage reimbursement, a $6 thing. So for us to offer what I perceive to be a discount, it happened before I was here, but there's some sort of deal or discount that was made with the cricketing community, and it's still cheaper than if you go on, there's a PDF file you could download from the Edison Board of Ed website, and it says clearly that it's $100 per field usage. That's what it is. So if I'm a football team and I'm considering renting something, I'm going to go on and it's going to say $100. In this case, what I perceive to be happening is you're paying less than that, and that's still too much money. And as a school, and I'm sorry, your time's up. I apologize for that. But what I perceive to be happening here is that you're not pleased with the financial arrangement that was proposed. And I don't want anyone to think that it was a secret, because Dr. Bragan sent a memo around to the entire board, everyone, all 9 members, 8 members. And everybody was well aware of this months ago, that there was going to be a change in because we have to follow policy and procedure. Maybe you weren't aware, but this was not something that was just with our board. This was every single person on the board received the memo, okay? I also am aware that Dr. Bragan met with 3 members of your cricketing fraternity of sorts. I don't know who, but I know he met with them. And it was to avoid situations like this where someone would claim that we were not getting ahead of it and being transparent. So I apologize if this was not enough, but we have an obligation, in fact, a sworn oath of office, to make sure that we manage the community's tax dollars at a standard that we feel is aligned with what our duties as school board members are. We are not a recreation department. We are not. Nor should a superintendent who's getting paid a good wage with his staff be scheduling cricket games on the weekends. It's not going to happen. It shouldn't be happening. Anyone on the board would like to weigh in? Other public comment? This person right here in the blue mask? Right here. Well, you first, sir, and then her. I'm sorry.
Good evening, everybody. Regarding the cricket, I just want to...
You have 6 minutes, sir.
Sure.
Your name?
My name is Amrut Patnaik, resident of Edison. A few points that possibly everybody missed out while having the discussion around the cricket and the permit and whatever facility that we are utilizing. So far, the school grounds were completely managed by, the permits were managed by Edison Recreation Department. Last year, it came to Board of Education, and this year, what I understand, it's going back to Recreation Department, who's going to manage the overall facility of those grounds. Now, the grounds are being shared by 8 different teams. So when I'm saying one ground, any school ground, it is being shared by 8 different teams. So the way it works, any team plays on alternate weekends. So every weekend, a different team plays. And when we talk about the season, it starts from May till September 1st or 2nd week. I just have to confirm. Now, the team utilizes those grounds from morning 7:30 to 10:30, 11 at max. And that's it. So that's how the different teams, based on rotation, utilize those different grounds, and they have to take care of so far they've been managing the ground, they've been taking care of the ground. Maintenance, when I say maintenance, it is the pitch, which is the really important part. I know that the grasses are being maintained, haphazardly maintained, not maintained. The whole season it is not maintained, I can say. Now when we're talking about the different other contributions or different expenses that we bring in, is related to the Johnny and other stuff that we invest in the ground. Now what you said, I completely understand. It is a school ground and meant only for school kids, but at the same time, as a taxpayer, the grounds are not utilized over the weekends, and because we are playing a recreational game, we try to self-organize ourselves, being part of a league, and that's how we share the ground and we play, which effectively play 8 to 10 matches over the entire season. That's why we are requesting that to reconsider the memo that was passed, which says $500 per season. So effectively, they consider May to July as one season, and from there onwards, next another season, which was effectively that amount of $1,000 coming into picture. So I would request if you could reconsider that amount and try to bring rationale with whatever the Addition Township is planning to do. We'll really appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Snyder, can I ask a question?
Sure.
I'm just trying to get a better understanding. So you're saying you guys are playing 2 seasons. One season's May to July. What's the second season?
It's only one season for us. It starts from May, it goes up to September.
May to September?
Yeah.
Well, that's long. And you're saying each team plays how many games?
10 matches.
10 matches for each team, and you said there's 47 teams?
The total number I have to check. But one school ground is shared by 8 different teams. Yes.
Okay. So you guys
So
say
it's
you're...
at maximum it is 10, but some other...
So how many players are on a team?
It depends, 16 to 18.
16, 18?
Mm-hmm.
How much does each player contribute to play on this league?
So it depends on the league that you're playing, because there are different fees that we have to pay to the league.
So this league?
So I play for NJSBCL, that is a softball cricket league, which is a hard tennis ball. So there we pay $250 for registration. Then we have insurance that we have to take care.
So each player has to pay $250?
No, so the team pays $250.
So what does the player pay to the team?
So as in general, the player pays from 125 to 150.
125 to 250?
150.
125
to 150.
So okay.
That's for the entire season of, yeah. It covers the overall expenses, Johnny, the team.
Okay. I'm just trying to get a better idea because you
Sure.
said you wanted us to be.
And we can have a different discussion if you want, just to better understand all the different expenses teams incur during the entire season, so.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Miss?
All right, my name's Nadine Sanchez, and I'm resident 99 Redwood Avenue. And I'm actually going to read a letter that I emailed to the Board of Education and the superintendent in support of Dr. Johan Rojas, principal at Lindenau. So I'm speaking tonight in support of Dr. Rojas as principal of Lindenau Elementary, as an Edison parent, and also I'm a school principal in a neighboring district. I have observed firsthand the positive impact of Dr. Rojas on his staff, the students, and the community. I fully support him. Lindenau has been a victim of perpetual principal turnover since my oldest son, who's now middle school, began school there in 2014. In his 4 years at Lindenau, Dr. Rojas has dedicated himself to the students, the community, and has provided much needed consistency for our school. The reason that Dr. Rojas was removed from Lindenau School stems from an incident that centered around a teacher's gross misconduct around my son, which I'm very upset that my son's situation is being used against Dr. Rojas. I believe that Dr. Rojas, when the situation happened, acted with the best intent and was forthright and honest in his communications with myself and my husband. I do not believe that Dr. Rojas is the villain in this particular situation. He has always looked out for my child as well as the other children at Lindenau School. The staff member who put their hands on my child is the sole bearer of the consequences, not Dr. Rojas. My experience with Dr. Rojas has always been consistently positive. We have not always agreed on things, but he's always taken the time to listen. He's always visible. He's there when the kids are dropped off, bus pickups. He's there at every community and family event. This year, we've seen more family events at Lindenau School than I've seen in my whole time, since my oldest son has been there. He also took time to listen to concerns of the Latino community at Lindenau School. He invited us to collaborate, to listen earlier in August. He demonstrates culturally responsive leadership. This is a state mandate. Our leaders are supposed to act with cultural responsiveness. With the exception of Dr. Rojas, I have not had a principal in Edison School actually care about the perceptions of parents and actually listen to our concerns and actually care deeply about marginalized students. Furthermore, I think removing Dr. Rojas, the only Latino principal in Edison, will be detrimental to the well-being of all students. Staff representation is essential if we are to truly support diversity, equity, and inclusion in this district. According to a 2021 study by Dr. David Blazer at Brown University, teachers of color increased achievement for all students, regardless of their race and ethnicity. Diversity benefits all students, not just students of color. And representation matters in Edison. According to the 2021 New Jersey School Performance Reports, Lindenau School student population is 40.2% Latino, one of the highest in all the elementary schools. 22.9% of students' home language is Spanish. District-wide, only 8% of administrators in Edison identifies Latino, and 4% of administrators identifies Black. Only 5.9% of teachers identifies Latino, and 1.7% of teachers identify as Black. The lack of representation in Edison's faculty and leadership in relation to its student body points to a lack of effort, I would say a lack of sustained effort by the Board of Education in retaining faculty and leaders of color. According to the Office of Civil Rights, now they stopped publishing and collecting data in 2017. Hispanic students represented 10.3% of the population, yet 30% of suspensions, 12.5% of referrals to law enforcement, and Black students also represented 7.7% of the total student population, yet 32% of students receiving suspensions, and 34% of students referred to law enforcement. So given disproportionate disciplining, and there is no tracking data in terms of placement, AP placement, honors placement, that actually could be collected through Genesis, but our State Department does not collect that and publish that. We would see disparities. So removing Dr. Rojas as principal hurts our community and is also indicative of a lack of racial equity efforts in Edison Public Schools. If we didn't make this connection as a board, then we're failing to push racial equity in Edison. If you can't see the connection between having a Latino principal, the first ever, at Lindenau School with a 40% student body that identifies with that community, then we are not making the right connections. I support Dr. Rojas as a parent and also as a school principal. It is my belief that removing him will be harmful to not only my child, but to all the children of Edison who deserve equity, not in rhetoric, but in action. It is my hope that you guys will take meaningful action to address equity. And I think it begins with Dr. Rojas's reinstatement at Lindenau. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Sanchez. Mr. Venkat. Ms. Joyce, you're next. I see you.
Thank you, Doug. So I think, it is sad that, we lost the biology. That's fine. So I think we get to know that. So now I see it's an observation, and I also see some pattern here. So if you really look at the room, most of them are brown people. And 64 teams into 20 each. Mr. Vijay, you have around 1,200 people into multiply by 3. You have more than 3,600 votes. Show that power in November, that why brown people's game has been impacted by increasing from $100 to $1,000. If you have that, keep it continue. 50% of brown Indian race here has been punished. And look at them. There are 3 positions that are coming in November, and show the power of those 4,000 votes. None of them are going to win more than 500,000. Show that clearly. Show them. I think usually I stayed away from Biral. Biral, you should voice your opinion. You know how close they are. It's not that we are not paying taxes only for the kids. It's if these 1,200 people are not playing cricket, not engaging in social activity, do you know what would happen to the community and where all we go, and the crime rate will increase. So keep kids in the community centers. You closed 1 community center. Keep people pay here, and most of them before me because you told me before that how much you support them. So I think that's what I'm going to stand with them and write to the mayor, tell him that he come from the community, that where they play, and there is a little respect from this BOE community on the brown people's game, and show it to them that why they are actually cutting it. And the last but not least, Biral, I hope you found the money for the biology club in JPS and robotics club in EHS. So the principals are not actually confirming that they're going to get. It could be 3,000 or 4,000. So I hope you have the budget. And Dr. Bregan, I'm always confident that his leadership, that he is for the kids, and he's already supporting the clubs that he can. So I'm not worried about Dr. Bregan allocating the funds as long as the budget allocation is done. So I think, Vijay, again, I'm telling you, show the power of the 50% of the community and 3 positions coming in November 1st election. Show it to them that why they're increasing from 100 to 1,000. Thank you.
Thank you. Dr. Bragan, you wanted to go back to the previous?
Yeah, just regarding any type of personnel issues, whether it's staff or administrators, the board doesn't make those recommendations. Those are under the sole purview of the district administrator, chief academic officer, which happens to be myself. And we are restricted from making any public comments about things related to personnel. So I understand, we hear your concerns. I met with a number of representatives from Lindenau School to hear their concerns about different issues. But we're not at liberty to comment on this in public, so I'm sorry, there's not much we could say to weigh in on that.
Ms. Joyce.
Good evening, everyone. Yeah, and speaking in terms of equity, they probably wouldn't be so devastated if we hired more people of color, some more representation, because just because somebody looks like me doesn't mean they're exactly good at the job. So what I'm saying, if you get a larger pool of people, then people won't be devastated by what they lose in the whole interim. Now, what I want to discuss here is that they said summer programs effective 6/20/22. All right. Now, Juneteenth is a federal holiday. Okay, I see all these other holidays down here that are not even federal holidays. Juneteenth is a federal holiday, and it also is a state holiday. So I don't know. I just see that as some of our equity problem. I think because it's a little disrespectful that on that federal holiday that we would start a program. You know, nobody starts a program on July 4th. Nobody starts a program on Rosh Hashanah. Nobody starts on Yom Kippur. Nobody starts a program on that day. So I'm just thinking that maybe we can do a little better, and, you know, we can mix up with different groups of people so that we can see some of the information going back and forth. And, you know, and I think that what will solve some of our problems everybody keeps complaining about is the fact that we can get that on the road, that $93 million budget. If we can get that together and we can move forward, then, you know, it'll be less complaining. Because sometimes I think, people complain, but nobody ever wants to move forward. Because I don't know, I just feel like as a team, if we work collectively, we meet with each other, then all of us gain from it. And that's one thing I do like about Virginia White's committee, because I'm going to talk about anti-bullying and information like that. We can work stronger and harder so people won't feel like they're bullied at any time whatsoever. And also, I would like to welcome the new board member, because my mother taught me manners and stuff. I'm supposed to welcome new people, even though I don't know you at all, but I'm welcoming you into Edison because I know the amount of time and energy that's put into being a board member and how you're called away from your family many times. So thank you. And other board members, you know, I appreciate the people, and I appreciate the work you put in to the curriculum committee. I appreciate it. I appreciate that you look out for our student body. But I would like y'all to give me a tennis court here or there, okay? Have a good evening.
Thank you, Ms. Joyce.
Mr. Board President, could I just make a comment on one of Ms. Shipley's?
Yes, Dr. Bragan.
Joyce, you started out saying we have to hire more people of color and more people of different ethnic backgrounds, and I agree with that. But if you look at our hiring practices in the time since I've been here, we have. And we have, well, you did say that. You said we need to hire, we don't hire enough people of color is what you said initially. But nonetheless, we're working hard to do that. And this board has been committed to that since I've been Chief Academic Officer, to the point where we've actually hired a person dedicated solely to that cause to help us work on curriculum and be more culture responsive. And also in the hiring practices in our diversity, equity, and inclusion officer, we were the only and one of the first districts in Middlesex County to appoint that position. So we do take it seriously, and we are trying to get our teaching and administrative population to be more reflective of our community and cover all aspects of it, because we do value that. So to make that initial statement, I don't think was fair, Joyce. And like you, I'm honest, I'm gonna call you on it.
Hey, listen, my initial statement, I made a statement, I need to have more people of color also go into the field of teaching, sir.
Okay.
Okay?
Fair enough.
Can we equal out of that?
Thank you, Ms. Joyce. Yes, ma'am.
We will take a look at that.
We'll look at that, yeah.
I understand that position.
Good evening. My name is Rebecca Bannon from Lakeview Boulevard. I just had one question, and then I just wanted to talk a little after that. In the packet that was handed out, in the personnel section and a settlement agreement section, it said to be distributed after the privilege session, but I didn't know if it's in here, because we were looking for that, and it seems to skip over those two. That's why I had the questions earlier about if it was the time to speak or not.
Can I just answer that, Board President? The initial settlement agreement should be outside and handed out after executive session. There was an additional settlement agreement that we'll have to get out. We didn't have that.
Okay.
Copies made because we were planning on doing that in the second privilege session, but we did it in the first.
Okay.
We'll get that on the website, and I'll get that to you tomorrow.
Is the personnel one going to be there too? Because that's not in here.
It's actually on the website now, Ms. Clark. just
The
informed.
personnel one too? Okay, because like I said, that's why I asked the question at the wrong time.
That's fine.
And the second thing, she spoke very well about Dr. Rojas. We are all just here to support him. I know that you can't tell us what happened. We don't expect to know specifics about stuff like that. We just want all of you to know what a huge support this principal has in our community. This is just a small number of people. It's a hard time to come at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, especially when they last this long, these meetings. We waited a long time to be able to speak on behalf of our principal. And he's just, to reiterate what she said, he's just a wonderful principal. He's brought a sense of community that the school lacked. My kids have been there since 2015. My daughter went through 3 principals by the time she was in 3rd grade, which is ridiculous. And they finally had stability once Dr. Rojas came in. And not only did they have stability, but they have a loving, wonderful principal who engages the community, the entire community. We've had a lot of problems in our school getting parental involvement, and we don't really have that as much anymore. If you look at the different types of events that we have. We had a 3rd grade math carnival, a math carnival. Like, I personally don't like math. I hate math. It was fun. Almost the entire 3rd grade families came out to this event. The Black History Month event was a wonderful event. The Hispanic Cultural Night was a great event. Like, he has a way of, we have a community. And we just want every single board member and you, Dr. Bragan, to know how important he is to us, how much he means to us, how many people are truly fighting for him, and hope that you all make the right decision and reinstate him and give him back to us, because our community needs him. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Oh, I'm sorry. You know what? I asked you first and then you. I'm sorry. Gentleman in the red hat. I can't see you with the podium that well, and you blend in. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Thank you. Respected board members. Little bit of history of, this is about cricket, so a little bit of history about cricket in Edison. Yeah. We've been playing cricket for about 22 years here, and Edison has been a torchbearer of cricket in whole of New Jersey, right? Anybody who has played highest level of cricket, even represented US in cricket, has spent significant amount of their time here in Edison, right? And this is a fact that we all should be very proud of, right? Coming back to the major issue, right? The price for the permits, I know we talked about price hike. This is more than inflation, right? So we went from an $100 permit fees to $1,000. That's how we're dividing this, right? And this affects about 50 teams. That's about $50,000 extra coming to the BOE. And we don't see any other extra services that's coming through, right? And when we met, you talked about 3 people. I was one of the 3 people that we met, right? By the time we met, I believe we talked very little about the money. We talked more about how we can improve cricket in HK here in Edison, and I even sent out an email to you about volunteering, how we can improve this. And I'm pretty sure my community here, the cricketing fraternity, is more than willing to work with you to improve the cricket here in school, right? That's our place here. But what we did not talk in detail is about, what we are essentially. When we talked about rolling the pitches. We talked about, setting up Johnny. Talking about insurance. We talked about a lot of stuff, right? But when we finished the conversation, when what came through on the other side was none of it. All we see is a permit fees that goes up. And I think by the time we met, you already sent the email to rec department. That's what I heard. Maybe I'm wrong, but by the time it looks like you already made the decision, and the meeting with us was a little bit of perfunctory. Maybe I'm wrong. So all we are asking at this point, right, to the committee is level the prices with what is being rec department is allowing us for, which is about $160 per year. Let's bring the whole of fraternity, the cricketing fraternity, into the conversation. Let's have a discussion on the prices so that we can all work this out, right? That is all we are requesting at this point. So, and this, let's flatten the prices for this year so that we can, work with you guys to find the right amount. And we are willing to work with you guys. We understand the high price hikes, but we need to also understand how this is, what else we are getting back. Because from what we've been playing, we don't see you talked about cleanup, you talked about video security. We don't see any of those. Whole of the weekend cricket is self-organized by the community here, and we pay all the prices, right? Are you guys better off having an empty grounds or having some level of fees out there? Is something that we need to discuss. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Miss with the black mask. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Diana Murillo. I live in 56 Morgan Drive. My sons go to Lindenau, and I'm here just to talk about these kids. They just want to come today for Dr. Bergen to look at him and listen to them. They care about the principal, and like they say, they are not happy anymore in the school. They used to see Dr. Rojas waiting for them at front of the door in school. Every morning my son said, "Mom, I don't want to go to school." I said, "Why?" "I'm missing Dr. Rojas. He's my buddy, he's my friend." He did a lot of change in the school. And the most important thing for me that I'm a mother is my son's health. And I know you guys had children. And if you think about Dr. Rojas, probably you said, "Oh, he's just a principal." He's not just a principal. He's a friend of the kids. And he showed this kid to be respect and to have dreams to go over and forward in life. The only thing I'm begging you, just put your hand in your heart and think about the kids, not the board education. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Right here. Yes. Ms. Conway, you're next.
Hello, my name is Kara Raval. I'm a senior at Edison High School.
Hi.
I am the president of our Tri-Am Music Honor Society, as well as the drum major, and today I'd like to talk about the funding for the music department. Our band, orchestra, and choir currently have no performance venue for our spring concerts because Edison High School's auditorium is being renovated, and as many of the students know, we were uninformed about the auditorium's renovation until it quite literally started happening. And as students, as seniors, we feel that our senior experience has been taken from us, our final performance has been taken of us. As of now, we are working very hard with Mr. Ross as well as our music department heads in order to find a solution for us to have a final performance. And everything that we have found as a replacement either cannot work or we do not have the money for. The middle schools that were proposed to us will not fit our band nor orchestra departments, and they do not have the acoustics that we need, such as is the case with our Frank and Cangalozzi Gymnasium, in which the band has performed before. We conducted our Tri-M Music Honor Society inductions there, and we had small group performances, but we also had our eighth grade district band night in our gym, and the acoustics were simply, to put it nicely, humiliating to the amount of effort that our music students have put in for our performances. And in order to have a proper established performance venue, we will need money from the district in order to perform at a place such as the Middlesex County College Auditorium or even the Roosevelt Park Amphitheater. Now I will introduce.
Hi, my name is Allison Zhang, and I'm the Tri-M Vice President as well as the Orchestra President, and I would like to also kind of bring the focus on the orchestra specifically because we tend to have even less of funding than the band and choir, as is evident with our room, which is significantly smaller, and it has worked in years prior, but now our freshman class is 40 people, and it doesn't work anymore, and we've been using the choir room for rehearsals, and it is quite a struggle, and I have to say that the underclassmen are very undermotivated to be playing in the orchestra and participating, and having a concert at an appropriate venue would be a great motivation for them, and it's something that we've been working really hard for.
Hello, I am the Tri-M secretary at EHS. I'm also a senior, and I'm a section leader, and my name is Alina Cherian. Our band director actually took a poll during Wind Ensemble one day, and it came to a point where the majority of the students would rather not have a concert at all and let their hard work go to waste than to perform at a disappointing venue like the middle schools or even outside. However, we know deep down that all of the students in the music department, especially us seniors, would highly appreciate your support and a final chance to perform in a proper venue. We'd also like to thank Mr. White, the supervisor of the music department, for his continuous support, and we hope that the rest of you will do the same. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Can I respond, Board President?
Sure, I'd like to respond first.
Go ahead. You're the Board President.
No, I am. You guys could have a seat. I was, too, a drum major at Edison High, and it was a long time ago. And it would have been awesome if someone before me suffered through the auditorium renovation, because the auditorium literally looks the same from 25 years ago as it does now, until now, when the previous iteration of this board decided that was a good use of funds to obviously renovate. I recognize, as someone who long ago played saxophone and led the marching band, and how proud that was, how that feels to be in a proper room. I also happened to be at your 8th grade South Edison band event in the gym, and I can agree wholeheartedly that the acoustics were horrible. However, that didn't take away from the beautiful performance of the wind ensemble I heard that night. But it certainly just was disorganized in terms of you guys running around and trying to get all the instrumentation, and then you had to rotate in all the bands and everything. I get it. I can't speak for the board. I certainly can't speak for Dr. Bragan, but I certainly, as a board member, agree that they should have the ability to play their concert in a proper venue. So I hope that we have some solutions here. Dr. Bragan, I turn it to you.
First, I want to congratulate you ladies for your eloquence in presenting your position. I appreciate that. You represented Edison well. And I think that auditorium might be the same from when I graduated that auditorium in 1983.
Yes.
Believe that if you will. But I'm disappointed that we don't have a venue yet. I thought that was resolved, and I thought it was at Middlesex College. So we will work with Mr. Ross. He alerted me to this earlier. We will find you a venue. We will find you an appropriate venue. You have my word on that. Okay, and we will also, the board has in charge me recently to look at different programs and different needs for funding and resources, and we're presenting those proposals, and Mr. White was very active in putting together some information that we will take under consideration actually at our planning meeting. I believe it's tomorrow night. So we hear you, and you have my commitment, as well as I believe the board, I can't speak for everyone, that we will find you an appropriate venue that is acoustically appealing. Is that fair? All right.
Well deserved. Thank you.
I knew that one, so I missed
the
this
dance,
one.
okay.
Okay.
Understood. Okay. Thank you very much. Thank you for coming tonight. Ms. Conway, and then you after. Thank you.
Elizabeth Conway, 20 Netherwood Circle. I just have a couple of things that I would like an update on first, and then I have 2 comments. The health benefits. We went self-insured this year from July 2, and it's usually around this time where we find out how well we did so we can progress for the next year. So that's number 1. Number 2, we purchased 30 buses, and we're talking about a place to put the buses, but I still see 8 buses that don't move at James Madison Primary and Intermediate Complex, which would make room for 8 new buses if you would just take the old parts that are still good and remove what's not good. Number 3, on the excellent showing last month of what we could do for our district was exceptional. But I know we're at time of the essence, and my question to you is, does the board have to approve at a meeting to start the process, whether it's to pay any vendors other than the architects on record? We wouldn't have to vote for them because they are already on record as being our contractors. But is there anything that needs to be done so we can move this process along? So that was number 3. Number 4, next month, one of the items that we talk about in May is teacher appreciation. And in the past, teacher appreciation was a week. And at the schools, the teachers were truly appreciated, they're individual. Well, the district also had a special session during a May meeting where we appreciated the teachers from each of the schools. And I'm wondering if this year we are not only going to have some kind of presentation for the teachers from each school, but also any of the ESPs from each and every school, because it shouldn't be just one day. And as a former teacher, I'm proud of my colleagues, and I would like to share with the whole district, when Patrick gets those public multicolor lines gone on the television, to show the whole township all the great colleagues there are in Edison Township. And my last item, which is the best item of all, and I can't ever pass a chance to talk about something that's beyond terrific. I came to the spring musical of Into the Woods. And under the circumstances of it being an Edison High School presentation, you would have never known that. They were here, they were beyond professional. The room, the night I was here, was very well packed. The students were beyond excellent, and I do have to say my grandnephew was one of them. But beyond Danny, they were terrific, and it's another time to say kudos to Mr. Ross being their leader. Thank you, and I do, if you just could answer the 3 questions that I had asked, I'd appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Conway.
Thank you.
Mr. Board President, I'll do the best I
Dr.
can.
Bragan, you got 3 questions.
I think there were 4 there, but the health benefits question, Ms. Conway, is, yeah, normally this would be the time of year we're looking to go out for renewals, but as everybody, I think, remembers, we're self-insured this year, and that seems to be coming to fruition with the savings that we thought it would. So what we're working on right now is what it would look like for our premium equivalents, which is what we would budget for the exact amount of payments the contributions from our employees as well as from us as the employer for next year. Our numbers right now are on track for the savings that we anticipated, between $5 and potentially $8 million of what we would have paid had we gone out differently. So we have to get all the months in as best as we can and make those projections for next year. But being self-insured, we're basically bearing the brunt of the payments, so we don't have to go out and look for those quotes like we would do in the past. So we're on track with that, and it looks like we're going to have the savings that we had anticipated moving forward. Potentially, I don't want to put the cart before the horse, but at the same premium equivalents that we had this year, or maybe even a little lower. So we're looking forward to get those final numbers. The buses, we've actually already have a lot that's been paved behind the maintenance garage on the Herbert Hoover property, on the side back over there for the additional buses. But we will look at those buses that are not being in operation that are on the JMI campus. The board approval for individual projects and things like that, it's typically what it normally would be. If you remember the Lincoln project, the initial approval was when we got the architects to design something, and they came with option 1, option 2, and option 3, and then the board selected, I believe we selected option 2 at that time. And then that's the first initial board approval, and then when we send that out for the DOE to get their approval on the plans, and then we put it out for a bid, and then the board would then approve what those bids are. So all of those projects we talked about at the meeting, each one of those would require board approvals. As the board president mentioned, we're going to try to split that amongst our 2 architects of record. Right now, they're already, I don't want to, again, speak before we had our other meeting, but they're putting plans together now to rough out ideas that I will present to the board, and then they'll give them the direction on, come up with the actual plan. Then the board will approve those plans. And then from there, we get DOE approval, and then we would put out for bid for the actual projects. So we're hoping to do that sooner than later, as the board president alluded to. Teacher Appreciation Day, I believe we've scheduled that with an Educational Professionals Appreciation Day is the May 12th board meeting. I believe that went out already, I think, today. I think I answered all those questions. I'm sorry? Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. The Lincoln project is, as of today, it's on track to open in September. We're looking forward to that, and I know we've been working hard. They have weekly meetings now. I try to participate in as many as I can as it gets closer to that crunch time. The one thing we said initially, and it might have even been while you were still on the board, Mrs. Conway, that the gym building won't be done on time. So that'll be a separate completion date, possibly in December. But the classrooms should be up and running, connected to the building. The plan is to get the keys and do the punch list in August. So fingers crossed.
Very good. Thank you. Miss. Nope. In the back, and then you. I'm sorry. Either one. That's fine.
Pascal 0207 Merriwood Drive, but tired now. Well, welcome to the board, and I wish you luck. I wanted to address the overcrowding. In California, when we had to deal with that, what we did was we rented trailers, and a couple of the trailers, and it served as classrooms. So I don't know if you're going to build another building and approximately how long it's going to take to achieve that, but maybe you can consider trailers to put on, near the facility, the school, the other building, and that could accommodate the overcrowding. Another thing we did in California that we actually taught the kids how to, balance checkbooks. We gave them fake checkbooks. We gave them, family and bills and certain things, because what's happening is that, some will grow up to be adults that don't know how to balance their checkbook and don't know how to actually, save up and actually maneuver with funds. So maybe economic class pertaining to those kind of things would benefit the students, not just now, but for the long run. And another thing, the security at the schools. What they maybe need to try to do from here on now is while the kids are in class, maybe they can do a run or two around the bathrooms, because from what I'm hearing, there's a lot of smoking going on in the bathrooms. I think the sprinklers are a little too high to accommodate the smoke to actually let off any alert. That's very important because the kids shouldn't, I heard about kids doing that in those kind of ages and in high school, but that should be out of the school, premises. It shouldn't be allowed in school premises at all. And what else? And that'll be it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Miss.
Good evening, Board. My name is Flora Fayette, 46 Blossom Street. I live next to Lendino School. And I work in public school in New York for 10 years. I was barely lucky to see the principal once a week. Dr. Hoas is outside every morning in the snow, rain, greeting the kids in a wheelchair. When the kids comes in, he's seeing them, he knows their story. In the afternoon, in the evening, at night when I'm at the park with my son, I will see him and I say, go home. It's 6:30, 7 o'clock. He's there. There's a problem at the park. He never just walked away. He always stopped to check all the parents and the children if everything is okay. This is the principle that we have, the diversity, how you bring the school together, the respect. My nephew graduated 4 years ago. We've been through so many principles. For the past 4 years, we have that stability. And the children been so much for the pandemic to the shutdown, quarantine. He was there supporting the kids early in the morning, late at night. When the first pandemic, I didn't know what to do with my son. He was crying. Who did I reach out to? I called him. He was able to explain to my son. My sister, as a respiratory therapist, she was not able to explain to my son what is a pandemic. When I called Dr. Ross, he was able to explain, let him know everything's going to be okay. He's going to provide all the help for him to be. My son is a high annual student. He loves going to school. From March 25th, the 5th grade had the field trip to Philly. That morning, when we got, I was the chaperone in the trip. When he pulled all the parents aside, he apologized. He was not able to gonna be on the trip with us. You could see the parents and the children, they felt, something must be wrong because that's not him, because he's very dedicated for the children, the family, and the school. When we came back from the trip from Philly, he was not there. And ever since, my son's been asking questions, Mom, what happened to the principal? The first week, we didn't know nothing. We thought, he got sick again with COVID. Second week, every day my son will go to school, he come home with a different story. That's when we start sending letters. April 8th, we received a letter, Koflak. That's when we start, knowing there's a clear picture of it. Think of the children, all they've been through, the pandemic, the shutdown, the quarantine. Especially the 5th graders are getting ready to graduate, not having him. A lot of the school is still on function, yes. I give all the great teachers, everybody a lot of credit. But a lot of other activities are stopped. The award ceremony has been stopped. And have the consideration for the children. The 5th grade, they're going to graduate without Dr. Horace, meant a lot. And now my son goes like, Mom, I don't even want to go to school anymore. As much he loves school. He's an annual student. And it's not the same when he's getting in school in the morning, Dr. Horace is not outside. And in the afternoon, because he's the principal who eat lunch with the kids. I live next to the school. He eats lunch with them. He plays outside in recess. He's involved with the school. He's inside of the bus to make sure everybody have their seatbelt. The bus broke down. He don't go home. He stay there, ensure every kid gets home safe. Please take a lot of consideration. Please reinstate Dr. Horace back to London. Thank you very much. Good night.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Yes, sir.
A
very good evening to all of you guys. I am Chanakya and resident of Edison. First of all, thank you so much for you all for listening to our concerns. And also thank you so much for your help in providing us the grounds, and because of you, we are still enjoying the cricket. And I am representing the same cricket fraternity and bringing you the same issue. Sorry for misunderstanding that you guys didn't speak to anyone of us and took this decision, but I just got to know that you speak to 3 or 4 people, but we didn't had any info on that. And just now I also realized that many things were discussed in that meeting, but the financials were not in the picture. And it seems like there is a big picture missing behind it, which you might not have noticed. I am not sure about it. Because there are many different leagues, softball leagues, which are of 2 different balls again, which are similar to tennis balls. And there are hardball leagues, which are of 3 different colors again, which are similar to the baseballs. And there are many different leagues, which are being happening Saturday and Sunday, morning 8 to 11, and from 11 to 6 on both the days. And there are different league fees which we are paying for this. The morning fees would be different, the evening fees would be different, and excluding these, we are paying Johnny on the spot. We would be paying for the umpires for organizing the matches, and we would be paying insurances. So there are many expenses behind this, and we would be paying for the balls which we are using on the cricket fields. And in every team, at least there would be few kids who would be playing, and no team charges for the kids. So there are so many expenses which are being paid. Maybe, I'm not sure, but you might have, these all things might not have come into your picture. And so what all we are requesting is, please be considerate. And if possible, just arrange a separate meeting regarding this so that people can discuss more in detail. And it would be a painful thing if people stop enjoying cricket because of financial issues. So hope you consider this and let people enjoy cricket. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Dr. Bragan? Excuse me, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I appreciate your comments. My recollection of that meeting is a little different, though. I did meet with 3 people, and my recollection is we did discuss the increase in the money that was going to be, the number I threw out was $500 was the number that we talked about. And we did even talk about the following year that would go up to $1,000. So that's my recollection. I know there were other people in the room with me, but to say that didn't happen is not the way I recall it.
I appreciate the community coming here to explain the business model that you guys have and the expenses and everything, and I'm not patronizing you. I'm being very honest. When we swear our oath to office for the Edison Board of Education, it is focused on the Board of Education. These items, the Johnny on the spot and the cricket-related expenses you have, that is beyond our purview. This is a straight facility use rental to allow you on our property, not our property meaning my property, our property meaning our property, all of our property. This is the Board of Education's property paid for by the taxpayers. And then to mow the lawn, apparently you guys received some sort of renovations of cricket pitches recently, as recent as last year. This money is not, what you're asking for $160 for 16 people to play for 10 weeks. That's $1 per person per week that you're asking to play on our property. That's what you said. You said $160 and you said 16 to 18 people on each team. Why are you shaking your head? That's what you said. I don't find $3 or $4 or $5 or even $10 for adults to play. Now, we also said often, ad nauseum, we said, and in writing, I was on the memo, we said if you have a financial hardship and you could demonstrate financial hardship, we are happy to work with you. Not we, the town, right? So there's some sort of narrative being painted that you're not allowed to play on our property. That is not true. What we're asking you to do is pay a discounted rate, and it's just not discounted enough for you. And I don't think that's fair to paint the picture that we're disallowing you to play. If somebody goes on the website, it is very clear, it is a board-approved facility use form, approved way before I was here, that says how much it costs to play, and it says $100 per event. Per event. And we're asking you for $500 for an entire team for 10 weeks? That doesn't sound like a lot of money to me. But it's not up to me to talk about your business model. I'm the Board of Education guy. I'm not the cricket guy, nor should the Board of Education. In my personal opinion, this is not the board's opinion, the Board of Education should not be in the cricket business. We are in the business of taking care of our students, our children, and doing it with the fiscal responsibility to the taxpayers. And those taxpayers, when they pay us taxes, they pay their school tax levy for the schools, not for adults to play sports. And somebody said something about painting it as it was some sort of discrimination. In fact, that's not true. You're getting a discount compared to everyone that goes on the website. And why? Don't shake your, I'm telling you what it is. That's the truth. I know you don't like to hear it. You're paying less than everyone else. In fact, last year you paid even less. Okay. Sir, you could sit down. You've already spoken. Your 6 minutes is over, so this gentleman here is speaking.
Okay, so again, I'm part of the cricket fraternity. I'm not gonna just go over the same topics again and again because I already heard you. I already heard what the issues are. So my permit is last year since last 3 years, I've been getting permit at TJ2, which is the Thomas Jefferson pitch 2, which is we have to buy like a $1,300 to $1,500 worth of mat to put it on top of the pitch before we start playing because we use the leather ball. Now, at the same time, there is a Woodrow Wilson School where a township spend money to put the AstroTurf. Now, that money is that we are going to spend for buying a new mat, which is pretty much really expensive compared to the Woodrow Wilson who got the permit. They are going to enjoy using the AstroTurf. Is there so basically there is no fair, decision between the teams who is going to use the AstroTurf versus we are going to continue spending money on the mat, which takes about 45 minutes to put it on top with the nails, removing it, putting back into the shed, and the shed also costs money. I would like to hear that, is there any concession, any discount for the teams those pitches are not AstroTurf, and we have to bear the cost for buying mats and several other equipments to put the mats or carry the mats from the shed over to the pitch, nailing it, spending our time. Is there anything that you could do about that?
Do you have any other questions?
That's pretty much it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Can I ask a question? Because I'm just trying to understand.
Yes, Mr. Rivera.
So, how many fields do you actually use in Edison?
So I only use one field.
Not you, but the cricket fraternity.
So
because
I want to make one more point, which will clear the doubt. So when we are saying that $160, one team is $1 per week and things like that, the permit that is being issued to ourselves or one team is they can play in only one slot every other weekend. Because of the size and number of the teams that we have within Edison Township, we've been granted the permit to play this Saturday, but not the following Saturday, and then we can play so basically it's an alternative Saturday. So instead of 10 games, we actually playing only 5 games, just to be fair. The 5 games being hosted at another ground, which is outside of the Edison Township. So that's why there is a clubs and the leagues, which is when they provide the schedule, they say, okay, 1 game you play on your ground, which is our home ground, and then second game we go to Somerset, for an example, and play over there. So we only use that one spot, which is 3-hour spot, like 8:30 to 11:30, or 8 to 11:30. One spot, we pay the full amount, and then we don't get to play the whole weekend, even the next weekend, and we have to wait till the alternative weekend to arrive, and then we can able to play. And that is only for the summer. So assuming that if I had to play summer plus my fall league, I am ended up paying $1,000 to pay five games in summer and maybe 3 or 4 games because fall season is short. I am ended up paying $1,000 for that 8 games or 9 games.
Well, you would be one of 16 chipping into the $500, you mean?
Say again,
Because
sorry.
there's 16 people on the team, correct?
So my roster is 16 players.
So you would be one of 16.
I will be the one of the 16.
Contributing to the 500.
That is correct, 100%
All right,
correct.
so you're not paying $1,000.
Me in the sense of my team, sorry about that.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to understand. I'm hearing it's $500 to $1,000, but I'm looking at it as is there a team of individuals that would split that cost?
Yeah,
That's
we
why
are
I think we're
splitting-
getting confused.
And I'm not declining to that. Yes, we are splitting, but it's not only that $1,000 that we are splitting. I'm talking about rest of $2,000 or many other costs that we are putting all together. So we are splitting lot more number than we are just keep saying 1,000. It's basically, if I had to sum everything up, it's roughly around $2,700 to $3,000 that we have to spend for one team. For one team. Because we are paying for mat, we are paying for our cricket gears, we are paying for all those equipments that require to play cricket, balls, insurance, our uniform.
So that would be personal cost then to this.
That's why I'm not bringing it up, but it's basically
So
it
like
goes
if my
out
kid
of
wanted to
pocket.
play baseball, I gotta spend $120 for the bat.
Yeah, if
and
I
the
play go for a, I'm playing a golf, then yes, I'm buying
just trying
my
to
own
get an
clubs.
understanding when I'm hearing the
100%
cost.
agree, not declining that. So that's why I'm saying that I'm not gonna go back and forth. My only concern is between the grounds that has no AstroTurf versus the one has AstroTurf, but we are still charging the
So
same
that goes
fees.
back to my original question. How many fields do you use? Is just
One.
TJ and Woodrow?
TJ2, that's it.
TJ and Woodrow, the only, all right.
No, not Woodrow. I'm only using Thomas Jefferson Peach 2
Why can't you use Woodrow?
because there are other people taking the permits.
Who's,
So there are,
He's
it's
only
like
talking about
64
his own
teams.
team.
Excuse me, we have to maintain decorum of this meeting, please.
Yeah, so 64 teams, they've been granted to use total 8 grounds within Edison. And so if I say that I want to play on Woodrow Wilson, they basically, the way they issue the permit is based on the last year permit. So if I used the TJ2 last year in 2022, 2021, this year they will issue me the same ground. Even if I request, basically that's not fair because somebody's gonna get kicked out because they are issuing me the permit, so they have to go to Thomas Jefferson.
so it's whoever gets to the permit first gets the field?
Pretty much, or based on the last year permit, and they have the good
Why would they
reputation.
base it on last year's permit if you're applying for this year?
Because it kind of sets up the reputation.
Okay.
So if I played nicely, no violation, nothing, they basically goes by the rating. And they make sure that, okay, no, Mr. Patel, you played last year on this pitch, on this time, everything, like no issues, and you still have more Edison residents in your team, go ahead and use the same pitch.
Okay, sir.
Thank you for
Thank
the
you
info.
for your time.
Thanks for educating.
Okay. Mr. Manesh.
Manesh Patel, 240 Walman Ave. You know why I'm here. Number one, my music money. I hope you guys put every penny in there. They need it. I saw the kids crying. They start calling me at home. I wasn't planning on seeing you guys today. Then I see an outrage of cricket. Remember one thing, these are the people who voted for you when you all got elected. Come next year, there's a bunch of people coming up on election. This is where the issue is going to get hurt. Think about it. We have all the games that we play, only cricket is getting penalized. Why? I already made a call to district attorney's office to find out what are our ways of doing this. But the thing is, if it's 100 to 200, is understandable. It's 100 to 1,000, somebody's lost their mind. And I hope it's not one of my buddies. If Jerry did it, I can understand, because he probably have drink sometime and he does it. But Doug, I don't think you should be doing that, if that's your call. Because I will ask for Oprah on this. Who was the person asked for $1,000? And that's the one's gonna get hit the most. Oprah will be coming tomorrow morning on all your desks. Number 2, music money. I just found out from one of the directors again, and you're the principal now, you understand when your kids don't have stuff, they can't perform. So I hope you understand that when you're voting. Please have most of it possible, maybe 100,000 for next year, but they need the money that I asked for. I'm not asking for something. I went through your bills. I saw the whole budget. There's a lot of things I could show you where you could cut and put the money for my kids. They need the money. Number 3, I heard there's a problems in the school. Teachers are fired, and the other thing is a pencil went through some student's hand. What is going on, guys? Are we correcting this? And why is the principal fired? Is there a body of reasons? Because I understand about 10 years back, we let the superintendent go. Why? Because they didn't communicate. Tell you the truth, 2022, we still don't communicate. Between the board members, between the parents and teachers, between the parents and board, and especially the superintendent, we still don't communicate. We still have issues, and it's a huge issues. We haven't fired another superintendent yet, but we have fired a principal. What are the reasons? Did he steal? Is there sexual abuse? Is there education abuse? What is it? You have to come out and say it before you fired him and put him home for 2 months. And the taxpayers are paying him money to stay home. The last superintendent we paid 2 years, sat home, and then when everybody raised hell, she was teaching kindergarten. I think this is stupidity. So if a principal has an issue, you guys could talk all you want for 2 months, get rid of him after 2 months, let him do his job, what he's doing. We can't have assistant principals doing principal's job, and who the hell is going to do assistant principal's job? Me? You? Them? They have enough problem of their own for the cricket. Let the principal come back to work starting Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday, whenever you decide. Let him finish his 2 months until you decide what the hell you want to do with him. Don't let him sit home. He hasn't done anything wrong in my eyes. Now, you could explain better than that. Good luck. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir, with the hat.
Good evening. I'm Vikram. I'm an Edison resident. I just want to bring up the same issue, but in another perspective, because I think there are some things which we all need to look at in a different way towards this cricket thing, right? So I come from a country called India, and we truly believe there is only one religion in India, and that's cricket. So you can sense the sentiments around the game. So it's more of a religion across the country. And when I moved to US, I was totally surprised the amount of cricket is played in US and the amount it is growing across the country. And I truly believe that it is taking the game to the global level, which is happening across the country. US has a national team in cricket now, and I see no reason why cricket is looked after as a different game than, say, American football or baseball, because a person representing cricket is also representing United States at a global level. So we need to take a game of cricket not as a game of brown people, but it's a game of American people. Nowadays, everybody wants to play cricket. I have friends from Caribbean region who are part of the American cricket team, and they are representing at a national level. So I'm not here to bring up an issue with, why cricket has been discriminated or why the price is raised. But I can tell you one thing, that when I go home on a weekend, I see my son equally invested in what I do on the field. He's always there with me to cheer me up on the ground. And I see many parents with their kids every weekend cheering their parents, playing with them. So I don't see why this is not a recreational activity for students or kids who are in this area, or for that matter, any other area in US, because I see wives, I see kids, I see uncles, I see their brothers coming on the field to cheer them up. And if that is the issue, then we might need to look at this as a more of a, holistic view towards the game than just looking at like bunch of adults playing the cricket for their fun. It's not like that. It's a community involvement. It's a passionate game. It's an involvement where each and every family member gets involved when they are playing a game. So it's just not the bunch of adults playing the game. So that's what I just want to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Sir.
Good evening. My name is Rajiv Trivedi, and I'm an Edison resident for the last 20 years. And, I've been sitting back there and listening to all my teammates over here coming up, voicing their concern. And, I keep hearing, like, it's only like $10 per person, See, the thing is, what we want to explain to you guys is, it's not about $10 per person per team. Raising from $160 to $500 or to $1,000 is like that's more like a 200% increase, Even gas prices didn't increase that much, all right? Like, what's going on over here? What's happening over here? Like, we want answers. And a lot of our kids, just for everybody's information, goes to Edison schools. They watch cricket with us. They come to our games to watch cricket with us. They come to watch us play. And they're going to be the future. Sooner or later, cricket is going to become a curriculum in your schools. So, my humble request to the board is, please, look into this matter properly. Take your time, look into the matter properly. We will work with you. Like all my teammates over here have said, we'll work with you. And we'll do our best for that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Any other public comment? Sir.
Good evening, everyone. So we already know what the concern is. I just want to request that we have a detailed meeting regarding the expenses, what's going on, when it comes to the game, sport. And we request a detailed meeting with the board members. That's all I want to request. We have a lot of expenses, let's say 200 per person, and that is almost 1,100 for, 11 people. And half of them, they are children. So they are students. Basically, they cannot, contribute. So the rest of it, who 5 team members can manage the expenses, they manage it for them. So, the burden is more when it comes to the expenses. And on the top of it, let's say if we are paying $500, that's not a problem. But if we get the best conditions of the ground, then we are ready to pay. See, we have to, manage the pitch, which gets like 2 to 3 people gets injuries every week, you can say, because of the pitch conditions. If we get the best conditions after paying that money, then, we are ready to pay. But every time we have to put mulch, mud, we have to clear up a lot of, 30-yard area on the ground to make a playable condition. And if pitch is not proper, players get injuries like that. And it's very hard injuries. So my request to, arrange a meeting with the, detailed meeting with the board members to understand detailed expenses and, to make the best playable conditions when it comes to the ground. Yeah, really, we were thinking that the price will be going lower than 160, but it increased to 500. And if we see that, the maintenance of the ground is not that very well, we have to maintain it by ourselves. And after a month or something, people come and cut the grass, which is like a 2 feet tall grass. So we, actually maintain it. Every week or twice a week, we call, mowers to cut the grass by ourselves, and that is also additional expense to it. So that is, our all personal request to, have a detailed meeting with the board members. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. President,
Yes, Mr. Patel.
So, the gentleman who last spoke, there are the maintenance of the grounds and grass, I understand, and I believe from what I heard, that's included in the BOE, the district facilities is supposed to do that, right? And Dr. Bragan, correct me if their district facilities will be taking care of that responsibility. Right?
And rolling the pitches too.
And rolling the pitches. Now, when you spoke about pitch, which ground do you play in?
In Thomas Jefferson.
There is a pitch there?
There is no pitch over there. And we don't
Right,
have
so how
that.
did someone get injured when there is no pitch over there?
No, there is a pitch, but we have to roll a mat on it. And before that, if it rains day before the game, then we don't have any equipments also that we can, flatten up the pitch, roll it up, and maintain it by ourselves. So we have to call someone a week before, a day before, to flatten up the pitch with the equipment. That's an additional cost to, to make it playable.
Right, because from my understanding, Woodrow Wilson is the only ground that has a pitch.
No, we play in PJ1.
Turf.
It's a turf, okay.
Yeah.
So,
AstroTurf.
so other grounds do not have the turf that Woodrow has.
Until date, we didn't have the ground. So every match, we have to spend $160 to just play one game.
Right, so the problems you're reporting is not with the Woodrow Wilson turf, it's with some other ground.
It's for the every ground, you can say.
Yeah, because Woodrow Wilson turf, I believe, that was made and there was repairs done and everything last year. And I was asking about that today as well. So.
It's half of it. It is
Oh, so Woodrow Wilson turf is still not in good shape?
No, it is not.
Right, so I understand, Dr. Bragan, we made repairs last year to Woodrow Wilson turf?
We did.
At some point?
Yes.
Right, so there was a turf that was made and then there were repairs made after that?
Correct.
Right, and you're saying it's still not in a good shape?
No, it is not. And one incident happened, actually, some of the people, they didn't like us playing cricket, so they came up with the knives and everything, and they just scratched the pitch.
Oh, so someone did vandalism on the pitch?
Yes.
Okay. Let's.
Yeah, so.
Sir, thank you.
Thank you.
Any other public comment? You have time? Oh, I'm sorry. Sir.
I think so.
Good evening, everybody. Respectful board members. I keep hearing about $10. Honestly, I'm not boasting, but I earn enough that I can pay myself $1,000. That's not a problem. But where does the BOE going to stop here? If I take my dog and walk him in Woodrow Wilson, are you going to charge for that because I'm using the Woodrow Wilson facility? If there are slides and swings in Woodbrook School. That's where my kids went to school when they were young. And I could see 3-year-old using the slides and using the swings. Are you going to charge for that? If I use that for 30 minutes, take my 3-year-old son over there, you're going to charge $15 because we use the facility in Woodrow Wilson. My son, who is a junior here in JP Stevens, he goes and plays in the basketball court in JMI, and he plays for 2 hours with his friends. So now we're going to charge him because he plays 2 hours in the basketball court at JMI, and we'll charge him $100 for that because we're using the facility at the school. Where does the BOE end? Cricket for us, it's not a business, as you said, Mr. Doug. It is not a business for us. We incur expenses, $1,000, as I said. I earn enough, I can spend that for a year in cricket. It's not about that. It is about how you're going to treat all the facilities that we have in Edison. So we have tennis courts, people go and play tennis, so we'll charge them because they're playing 2 hours and you will start charging them. So what is the point of paying the taxes if you're going to charge for whatever activity do in the Edison Township? That's my question and comment.
Thank you. To answer your question, if you wanted to reserve the tennis court, it would be $100 per event. If you wanted to reserve the basketball court, it would be $100. It's a facility use form that's on our website. Okay? So there's the price that the cricket fraternity is being offered is actually discounted from the PDF that is available publicly on the website. Nobody's preventing you from playing cricket. In fact, people play cricket all week long on the pitches. I see it. If it's a beautiful day on a Tuesday, they're playing. If it's Saturday, they're playing. If it's Sunday, they're playing. So we are not charging anyone to walk their dog. We're trying to have an intelligent conversation about it, and I think all of us are here to talk about education. We're now talking about a sport for adults. And I understand the sensitivity by it.
If I can see, my kids go to the school here. All of our kids go to the school here. We are not in the disagreement, Mr. Doug. The top priority, the most important priority for us is to have good education for our kids.
The only priority.
That is not the only priority. Sorry, I profusely apologize. I don't agree with that. That is not the only priority. That is the top priority. I am on you with that, but we cannot just have kid as the only priority. We have to be in a sane mind for our kids to be in a sane mind. So I don't agree with your statement. We cannot just say that they are the only priority. Yes, they are absolutely at the top of the food chain. Everything has to be done and kept in mind how the kids are doing. There is no disagreement on that. But we cannot say that kids are the only priority. That is not the right statement. I will not agree to it.
We'll agree to disagree. Mr. Manesh, you have a few minutes.
I somewhat agree with him. Kids' priority is biology lab. You guys silently cut it without telling anybody.
Not true.
Because last time you said, we'll put it for vote next time. Guess what? 3 of them are absent. So you got the vote that you needed to cut it. Physics was gone 3-4 years back. Dr. Reagan, are we bringing back physics lab? When are we bringing this biology lab back? Do you have any plan, Doug? Any plan whatsoever? Or are we just cutting it because 300,000 is too much, 300 million is too much? We need 298 to operate. Come on. We keep cutting and then say, you know what? We didn't increase your taxes this year. But these 1,024 citizens got a tax increase because they're paying for cricket. Okay? And the same thing is biology. Those kids, you didn't charge them, but you cut the biology out. So at least somehow you penalize those parents for their taxes because you're saying you guys didn't increase, but they decreased in their education. You and I had 2 labs. We had to do it. I'm sure Dr. Bregan did 2 labs too. So why are we cutting labs now? Thank you.
Thank you. Move to adjourn public comments and move to a privileged session.
Motion.
Motion, Mr. Patel.
Second.
Second by Ms. Madiger. All in favor? Or roll call?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Any nays?
Nays? Abstentions? Motion passes. I'll read the,
Move to a privileged session, please.
okay. Whereas Section 8 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, PL 1975, permits the exclusion of the public from a meeting in certain circumstances, and whereas this public body is of the opinion that such circumstances presently exist, now therefore be it resolved by the Board of Education of the Township of Edison, County of Middlesex, State of New Jersey, as follows. The public shall be excluded from discussion of and action upon the hereinafter specified subject matters in which the general nature to be discussed is attorney-client privilege discussions regarding student matters, litigation brought by former employees and students, ETEA grievances, PERC, unfair labor practices. It is anticipated at this time that the above stated subject matter shall be made public at such time as the need for nondisclosure no longer exists. This resolution shall take effect immediately. May I have a motion?
Motion.
Second.
Second, Mr. Patel. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? We will be adjourning from privileged session, and we will not be returning to open session. There will be no more voting items for the night. Okay? Thank you. Meeting's adjourned. Or public session adjourned.